basically completely changed, and a lot of cases are not being recorded. Now, the anecdotal evidence is pretty overwhelmingly that hospitals now require doctors and nurses and other staff, even infected with COVID, to work if they are physically able to do so. Mortuaries are piling up with bodies, and funeral homes are working 24/7 to cremate bodies. I think it is a significant change, but in absolute number terms, the Communist Party is technically absolutely correct when they say that the number of deaths in China, both in absolute and relative terms at the moment, is still substantially below that of the UK or the US.
Tomorrow, the political consequences of the Chinese government's U-turn. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
The main headlines again. Argentina have been crowned World Cup champions after an extraordinary final against France, packed with twists and turns. Pyongyang launched 2 more ballistic missiles on Sunday, according to both Seoul and Tokyo. And Kyiv's mayor says the heating is back on across the Ukrainian capital after Russian rockets struck the city's energy infrastructure last week. And that is the latest from Feature Story News. I'm Jagruti Dave in Washington.
From that romantic summer evening in 1924, when Pol Pot was conceived, to the first time someone figured out how to eat a pineapple without ripping their mouth to shreds. This week in history, 1692, 5 citizens were executed after being convicted during the Salem witch trials, all while dozens of witches, warlocks, and sorcerers stood by and watched the wrongly accused take the rap for them, while the perfectly normal humans charged with witchcraft were publicly hung and dragged to their unmarked graves. The numerous Salem citizens that did spend their evenings casting spells and awakening the dead merely lowered their heads as their friends and neighbors were burned at the stake.
Historical records have indicated that as many as 35% of the people in Salem were actually witches and warlocks. In fact, the executioner himself was a well-known necromancer who, after hanging the wrongly accused witches, reanimated their dead bodies and apologized before casting them into the eternal fires of hell.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
And we're back. Yes, it is time. It's the end of the week, or is it the beginning of the week? When do you start your week?
Monday. I usually start my days on Monday.
So it's the end of the week for most people. Sunday night?
Yeah, I say this is the beginning of the week.
Okay, well, that's why individuals are individuals, right? You know, the beginning of my week, well, was probably Friday. I don't have to work this week. So.
Oh, nice. Good news.
I've got some daytime off.
Mildly interesting. My religion, the Quakers, decided they couldn't live with days of the week as they were named. They just couldn't say Thor's Day and Woden's Day and
Moon Day.
Tears Day. Right, you got it.
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't say that. And so they decided they were going to rename the days of the week. Now, they didn't do anything exciting like calling it Shehimfrash or, Bulldozer Day or anything like that. Nothing good. They just said first day, second day, third day, fourth day, on up to seventh day.
Oh.
And by the way, if you're going to rename the days of the week, why not make a 10-day week? Why go to 7? Why pick a prime number? I don't know. But
wait, is this where the Seventh-day Adventists came from?
No, Seventh-day, to some extent. The Bible doesn't refer to days of the week. It doesn't say on Sunday, Jesus was crucified.
Right, remember the Sabbath.
It says on the first day.
Right, yeah, that kind of thing, right.
And so it gets a little confusing with us considering Sunday to be the Sabbath, but in fact the Jews consider Friday evening and to Saturday evening to be the Sabbath. Anyway, so the Seventh-day Adventists they celebrate Saturday as the holy day.
But Saturday's not the seventh day.
Look, man, I didn't make this stuff up. Nobody's come to me on this, or I would have gotten rid of the 7-day week.
Day Adventist.
Fuzzy calendar, man.
Before we go on, I have to say, Captain's Log Stardate 12182022. In the studio tonight, it is myself, the Lord Reverend Dr. Captain Kick-Ass Buckshot Esquire, if you will.
Wow.
Joining me tonight,
Steve Classic.
And Mark Edge.
It's my understanding that Steve Classic, you and Mark Edge have never appeared on Free Talk Live together.
That's correct. An historic evening.
I'm happy to host you both here simultaneously or simultaneously, depending on your preferred pronunciation.
At the same time.
and also,
at the same time.
And at the same time. Oh, even better, right?
Yeah.
The telephone number, if you would like to join us tonight, is 603-283-6160. You can, tattoo that on your firstborn's forehead or grab a crayon, write it on the fridge.
That would be aggression.
Whatever you need to do to make sure you remember 603-283-6160. We've got some things to talk about tonight. One of the things I want to talk about is the FBI. All right. I've said recently online.
Do we have to?
I mean, I've said recently online, something along the lines of abolish the FBI now. And, of course, many people are like, well, if you zoom out, if you just abolish the whole thing, the FBI will. And I'm like, yeah, I get that. But the FBI is under particular scrutiny now for several things. One of them, of course, being the Crypto 6 trial. One of them being, of course, their influence in Twitter.
Oh, yes.
Right? The Twitterverse is all a flutter.
FBI, right.
Yeah, the people on Twitter are shocked that the FBI agents would be their sole job not to find people doing illegal tweets, but to control the narrative by suggesting tweets that should be taken. People that swore an oath to the First Amendment and the rest of the Constitution are out there saying, you can't say that here. That's not good. As if, it's just so weird. Why would the United States, why would Twitter allow FBI agents to tell them what people should be able to say and not say?
Tax breaks?
It's a great question. And most of the time, it's just because they show up and flash some badges and say things like, hey, I'm with the FBI.
Ooh.
We're going to do this. And they go, oh, yes, sir.
Don't lie to the FBI.
Because it's the Milgram experiments, right? It's
I'd like to address that, Steve. It's not don't lie to the FBI. It's don't talk to the FBI.
Don't talk to them.
The FBI still lives in 1990 where they use tape recorders or, they use digital recorders to record interviews, unlike every other policing organization in the United States.
They don't use phones.
Which just goes ahead and records the conversation so that they know what the witness has said to them or whatever. The FBI just scribbles it down on a piece of paper. If they scribble it wrong, and then you contradict the wrong thing they scribbled, then you've lied to the FBI.
Wow.
And you're going to jail, Martha Stewart.
Oh.
Yeah. So.
You hear that, Martha?
I'm going to call Martha, see if I can get her to sponsor the show.
Just because you brought up Martha Stewart, her and Snoop Dogg did some work together, amongst other things.
I never saw that work.
Well, they've appeared on advertisements and such, simultaneously. But I'm thinking if I'm Snoop Dogg, Martha Stewart has to have made the best stoner snacks. You know what I mean? I'm just like, and it makes me wonder is Martha hitting the bong? Did Snoop smoke her out?
Has anyone ever asked Martha?
Well, I don't know. I've never really looked into it, but I've just seen them together on a few different items here and there for advertising stuff, and it occurs to me that if you're gonna have some stoner snacks, you might as well get Martha Stewart to make them for you, right?
Right.
I mean, that
Martha approves of these cookies,
especially if you're going to pay a full-time blunt roller. I mean, what's up.
All right. So Mark Edge.
Yes, sir.
You and I attended the Talkers Magazine. What was the name of the event?
The New Media. They used to call it the New Media Seminar. Now they call it Talkers.
It was an awards presentation / what do you call it?
Convention.
Convention. Yes, thank you for talk radio. And at that convention, you and I met a gal named Nikki Klein. Nikki Klein is famous for being Callie on the reboot of Battlestar Galactica. Yeah. And she's involved in some sort of I don't know how else to say it, in some sort of a sex cult thing where whoever.
She says it's definitely not a sex cult.
Well, she says it's not. And but this is what you'll read about it.
Which I, by the way, am fully ready to do any interview where somebody starts off with, it's definitely not a sex cult. Like
if you start
write that down.
True, yeah.
Write it down on a piece of paper.
Free Talk Live, definitely not a sex cult.
So anyway, the FBI is involved with whatever that is, and there's a guy named I think his name is Kevin, who's been arrested and detained and that kind of thing, and they're trying to free him. Free Kevin. And there's been some backlash against the FBI as a result of that case. And I just want to play this clip for everybody because we've been involved, at least watching the Crypto 6 case, and we see what the FBI has done. We know they've raided the studio and all that kind of stuff. We see what kind of chicanery that they're up to. They're also obviously under the gun now with the whole Twitter revelation and how involved they were with Twitter. So this is just yet another piece of damning evidence against the FBI.
10 years, it is clear that the photos in this case were planted there.
This is the most serious tampering of evidence that I've ever seen.
It's inescapable that the FBI proactively created fake evidence.
Data changed while I was in FBI custody. It was modified, it was altered.
In 25 years of digital forensic investigations, 5 of which was with the FBI.
This particular guy is a former FBI special agent. Everybody who is commenting here, everybody who's commenting here is some official of some type or some other expert of some type in either forensics or evidence or procedure, and they're all saying the same thing.
The amount of technical ability and premeditation to perform this fraud in the case against Mr. Raniere, I've never seen anything like that.
In my 20 years experience with the FBI, I have never seen data manipulation, evidence tampering, anything like this on this scale.
603-283-6160. I believe it's time to abolish the FBI. How about you? More coming up.
Raising my hand.
Thank you, Steve. This is Free Talk Live.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
You can help more people hear the message of liberty by joining Free Talk Live's AMPS program on Patreon for as little as $5 a month. And you'll get access to special perks. Visit amps.freetalklive.com, amps.freetalklive.com. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
You can help spread the ideas of liberty with our Patreon for just $5 per month at amps.freetalklive.com.
And we're back. We are here, and this is where we are. Because if we weren't here, we'd be somewhere else.
That's right.
It's Free Talk Live.
Nobody saw that coming.
Did he? We were talking last night about how the name Nobody and you know his whole thing has gotten so much mileage.
Oh.
And it's continuing to get mileage, too.
I almost refrain from using the word nobody.
Right. You find yourself,
no one,
even when you're talking to people outside of his sort of Dunbar circle, when you find yourself going, and no one was available to do the thing or whatever. You find yourself not using the word nobody so that nobody can make a joke about nobody.
Right.
At any rate, the telephone number 603-283-6160. In the studio, it's myself, the captain.
Steve Classic.
And Mark Edge. My son's 14 years old, and he just loves the whole nobody, that Rich Paul changed his name to Nobody joke. He just thinks it's wonderful.
I do, too.
Do not.
No. Nobody cares about the economy.
We have the previous segments. We were talking about the FBI. And because the FBI is very near and dear to us here at Free Talk Live, and we're familiar with their corrupt ways, we decided to take a look outside. Where else is the FBI under fire right now, under criticism, heavy criticism? And, of course, Twitter is the big one right now. That's what the social media universe is talking about. But there's a whole litany of experts, former agents, government people, writers, commentators who have examined evidence in another case, and we played some of that. Here's some more of what they had to say.
When I first read the papers that Mr. Raniere presented on tampering, I was shocked.
I've never seen an instance where the system threw away its credibility purely for the purpose of convicting a defendant.
Well, I mean, we have.
Well, he hasn't.
He hasn't.
That was a former Supreme Court justice, by the way.
I will defend the FBI in this circumstance and with Free Talk Live.
What?
They haven't thrown away their credibility. They've been as honest as they can. It's just they've brought charges that of crimes Ian didn't commit, but they haven't lied about it. It's not like they said, "All right, we've trumped up some evidence, and here it is."
Well, how about the way overkill use of force in raiding the studio? I mean, this was an FBI case headed by Phil Cristiano, as I understand it correctly. I don't have evidence of this. This is hearsay, but it's my understanding that this was his case, and we know that he's got kind of a vendetta against Ian Freeman. And so then this completely unreasonable use of force, they called in multiple alphabet agencies and, displayed what I can only convey as a military-style offensive on this studio that we sit in here tonight.
And cited a plastic sword as one of their reasons.
Right.
Well, I'll address that. That's massholes who are scared to death of guns raiding any house in New Hampshire, basically. There's your explanation.
It still doesn't make it right.
I'm not claiming it's right. Like the difference between what happened in the case that you're talking about here is absolute fabricated evidence.
Yes.
Like they just made up evidence wholesale.
Yes.
In the case of the Crypto 6, they haven't made up any evidence. They're just trying to smear and do a variety of things. Nothing that is, unprecedented in American history.
Yeah. Right. Well, it's almost if you look at the case against Alex Jones and where he's being sued for $2.65 trillion,
right? Or it was like a budget of the U.S. government,
right? So. When you put all that stuff out there that, hey, this guy's getting sued for a lot of money, you better watch out. You better not say those things because look where it leads. It's an intimidation, I think.
Oh yeah. It's somebody to make an example of.
Right.
Yeah.
Straw man.
And like I see parallels between like the Ross Ulbricht case and the Ian Freeman case, the Crypto 6 case. I see parallels in sort of what's going on there. To your point, Mark, I don't see as much railroading at this point in the case as we saw with Ross Ulbricht, but it is certainly their desire to do so. They're just a little more inept at it in this particular case for whatever reason. They also, so far, haven't produced anything that we can construe as fabricated evidence, with the exception of how much tax does Ian owe? That's completely fabricated, 100% made up. Some accountant, some FBI, tax person put together this hogwash about, we did some calculations based on his transactions on localbitcoins.com, and then we averaged that out over the course of 3 years, and we took a look at this 3-year segment, and we saw that, he didn't file a tax return, so we estimated that he would have made this much per year, and if he took all the standard deductions, it would have been this much taken off of that, and thus he owes this much for this year, this much for that year, this much for the other year.
It's just made up.
You're right, that's fabricated.
Totally fabricated.
But not fabricated in an evil way. Fabricated in a way that's slanted to the government, clearly.
How is that not evil?
I think that
they're just doing their job.
They brought out these charges.
That's totally fabricated in an evil way.
I think that the charges that were brought out, which was tax evasion, right? Like they brought in the prosecution brought in an IRS agent, and it's like, we got to make these stick because clearly this guy was evading taxes, and there's not the worst argument in the world for it. He went on national radio year after year and said, "I don't pay federal taxes." Now, does that reach the level of evasion? No, it doesn't. But what they tried to do is say this was the income level of this guy had. Maybe they were right. I don't have any idea. Now, they didn't give him any deductions or anything like that. And I think most importantly, they never contacted him once about owing money. They just charged him.
Right.
There's no audit brought up.
There's nothing. We don't do that in America. And that part is rather optimistic on their side, but I still don't think it reaches the level of this case that you're talking about right now, where they just made up stuff wholesale.
Right. Well, and went to great lengths apparently to make it up. But to the point of the Crypto 6 case, Ian's lawyer was quite savvy in getting this particular FBI agent to answer the following question, which was, so there's what you're saying is that he may not owe anything at all. And she said, correct.
Yes.
So that's how fabricated that particular piece of evidence is that, like, it's just this imaginary scenario of what might possibly be, but there's no facts or evidence to back it up other than their estimated numbers.
Right.
So I want to hear just a little bit more from these people on this case.
Could happen to a person who is educated, who is white, who has the complexion for acceptance, as I would say. None of us are safe.
There's no need to fabricate evidence for a guilty man. The fact that they fabricated evidence here, and to the degree that they did, shocks the conscience.
603-283-6160. Can the FBI really get more evil than they are currently?
They probably can.
They probably can.
Yeah, they can. Yeah.
I just wish they, as an organization, if there were a magic wand I could wave and they would disappear, I would have done it already. This is Free Talk Live. More coming up.
When every dollar counts, hit those dollar stores. I'm Holland Cook with Inflation Hacks. You might have heard newscasters chuckle when Dollar Tree stores recently marked up some items to $1.25. But Dollar Tree and Dollar General and Family Dollar are still the best place to buy things that cost dollars more elsewhere. Next time you're at the drugstore, look at the price on the back of greeting cards there. And why pay more for picture frames, phone cables and chargers, and school and home office supplies? Santa will thank you for buying gift bags and wrapping paper at dollar stores. And because breakage happens, the price is right for wine glasses and martini glasses and other drinkware. Cheers! How are you coping? Post your inflation hacks at andyoucanquoteme.com.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Jagruti Dave. Argentina have been crowned World Cup champions after an extraordinary final against France, packed with twists and turns and a penalty shootout that had football fans on the edge of their seats. Full-time ended at 3-3, but the penalty shootout determined the final result, a 4-2 win for Argentina. Ross Cullen has more from Paris.
Well, as the World Cup comes to an end, also coming to an end, France's hopes of landing a third global title. The game itself was thrilling. France had seemed down and out. Argentina were 2-0 up with 10 minutes to go. Who, though, but Kylian Mbappe, 2 goals in 2 minutes, brought France level, and we went into extra time. Once again, Argentina took the lead with Lionel Messi scoring to put Argentina 3-2 ahead. Kylian Mbappe again dragging France level at 3-3, and Argentina and France went into that penalty shootout, which Argentina ultimately won. Lionel Messi finally winning the World Cup at the 5th and final attempt. He had confirmed before the game he was not going to play another World Cup for Argentina.
Pyongyang launched 2 more ballistic missiles on Sunday, according to both Seoul and Tokyo. They're believed to be medium range as they flew more than 300 miles from North Korea's east coast, according to authorities in Japan. The Japanese defense minister said the rockets fell into the sea outside the country's exclusive economic zone. Japan and South Korea condemned the tests, and the US Indo-Pacific Command reaffirmed what it called America's ironclad commitments to the defense of these two nations. North Korea has fired an unprecedented number of missiles this year, including a long-range Hwasong-17 ICBM last month. Days ago, state media reported Pyongyang had also tested a solid-fuel high-thrust engine, which could enable faster launches of ICBMs. Kyiv's mayor says the heating is back on across the Ukrainian capital after Russian rockets struck the city's infrastructure last week. In a Telegram post on Sunday, Mayor Vitaly Klitschko said all sources of heat supply work normally. This is a small bit of good news for the city's 3 million residents who've been experiencing a bone-numbingly cold winter. Our correspondent in Kyiv, Sarah Coates, explains how all this is affecting morale amongst ordinary Ukrainians.
They're worn out, but let me tell you, they are resilient. I've been speaking to so many people on the ground and they say they can endure these conditions. They will endure these conditions. What they will not put up with is Russian occupation. There's been a lot of centres, they're called these points of invincibility, set up right around Kyiv. These are either makeshift tents powered by diesel or petrol generators. Inside they have hot tea and coffee and a little bit of something to eat.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FS.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live.
And we're back. Yeah, there we go. All right, I feel better now. It was your turn. I was trying to cover for you, but I see you with the Bitcoin mug over there. And, yeah.
Just want a cup of coffee.
No, we were talking about coffee.
Oh, I thought you were drinking cryptocurrency.
It's very liquid.
It is Free Talk Live. The telephone number, if you'd like to join us, 603-283-6160. In the studio, it's myself, the captain.
Steve Classic.
And Mark Edge.
Let's go right to the phones. We've got Tom calling from New Mexico. Tom, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hello.
Hey, what's on your mind?
Hey, I wanted you guys to kind of touch on the Jeffrey Epstein case. I watched the Netflix show as like a series, Filthy Rich, and they only touched on it at the end of the last episode. But the townhouse that he had in New York, I don't remember how many rooms, but every room was wired for sound and video. And the FBI, when they raided it, they took away two, UPS style vans full of DVDs and recordings, VHS. But there has never been any indictments or any talk, not even a peep about, who was there, underage girls, all that.
The reason that they haven't arrested anyone in connection with Epstein or Maxwell is because they are the ones that are connected to Epstein and Maxwell.
One can only infer that, that's the only logical explanation that anyone can come to until they actually release the evidence. And so they must be afraid. Yeah, they must be afraid of what it's going to reveal. You'll note that Ghislaine Maxwell, convicted right now.
Yep.
But
we don't know of what, really. I mean, we don't have.
Yeah.
She was supposed to reveal everything.
Of selling, underage prostitutes to ?
Unnamed.
Right? Like,
right.
If government.
Just the names of the people that have been publicized is pretty long list, and they haven't talked about any of them.
Right.
Let alone the ones that were there that we don't know about.
Well, the lists that have been publicized have been the flight logs, right? Who flew to the island and back, right? And so that's pretty damning in and of itself. But the fact that somebody has been convicted of selling people to other people and the buyers have not been named should tell you a whole lot about what your government thinks of, quote, the people, unquote.
Well, my point is it's not just that, but it's telling about the FBI, because the FBI hasn't said anything either. Right now, all the topics that you've just talked about with crypto, it's all kind of like wag the dog, trying to make a controversy, trying to make something that people are talking about that just distracts you.
Mm-hmm.
But there's really nothing there. Here, there's rock solid evidence. They have thousands and thousands of pieces of evidence, but yet there's nothing being talked about, no indictments, and all the stuff that, like you're bringing up, are all just fabrications.
Yeah. And like you say, they have all of this evidence, and of course, no one can get at it. A FOIA request isn't going to get you anywhere.
Yeah.
When I think about the Epstein case, here's what comes to mind. Let's just say for a second that Jeffrey Epstein wasn't an operative of a foreign country who was given something as cheap as a 747 and a few mansions. I mean, because for a man, that's a lot of money. For a country, it's nothing.
Right.
And if he's managed to lure in some of the greatest politicians of our time, Bill Clinton, Bill Richardson,
Trump.
Yeah, well, Trump didn't fly on the Lolita Express.
I've heard rumors of it. I don't know.
On a plane,
criminals, you mean?
Yeah, on a plane that's named after pederasty, If in fact this wasn't a trick by a foreign country, man, foreign spy agencies suck. I mean, just think about it. This is how easy it is, right? The trick is, all you do is you get a 747, you manage to get these politicians to fly around with you. You give them 3 drinks at the bar at the 747. There's plenty of room for this.
Videotape them.
Then the 3 drinks come out, and you're like, everybody's having fun. Then, ring, ring, you push the little secret button, the girls come out. Oh, what are these poles in the middle of the room? They start dancing, right? Now, you've got 3 drinks in each of these guys. Yeah. Even the ones who didn't drink, they've watched it, and they've let it go down. And then the girls start taking a guy back to, one of the 3 bedrooms in the back of the Lolita Express, one at a time. The drinks keep flowing. By the time you get to Botswana or where the heck you're flying on this thing, you're 7, 8, 9 drinks in. You're pretty much anybody's 3 sheets to the wind at this point.
Even if you have 1 drink on a plane, you're usually...
And you've got these politicians bare-butted into a 17-year-old prostitute.
Yeah.
We're all supposed to be upset about the girls. I'm upset about this. Why isn't the NSA doing this in other countries? Where's my U.S. intelligence office money going?
Go ahead, Tom.
Right. That's the whole idea. It's like it's all just washed under. And I'd really like to know how deep it goes. How many people in what institutions have been corrupted? At the Supreme Court level, at the FBI level, the Department of Justice,
If you control a few judges, you control the whole nation. If you can make a few cases go one way or the other, that's it.
It sets precedent.
That's all you need. You don't need the United States Supreme Court. You need just a few down the line. And by the way, if you can get a few, you can get lots. It's not hard. Men have been pretty predictable for the last 10,000 years.
Yeah, I did hear there was kind of just a rumor that the U.S. Marshals wanted to get involved because they were dealing with the human trafficking part of the Epstein issue, and there was kind of like a what do you call it? In between the 2 departments, there's a bickering about who has jurisdiction, and they wanted to take over some of this evidence, but I hadn't heard if anything came about of that.
I'm not familiar with that.
I haven't heard about any dead U.S. Marshal agents, no. Did you think Hillary Clinton? I haven't heard her say anything about that.
Hey, Tom, thanks for the call. We appreciate you. 603-283-6160. The corruption, I've made the statement, and I still believe it to be true based on the evidence that's been presented to me, that government is corruption. Right? It is based in immoral action. It is based in non-virtuous action. Its only tool that it uses is force. That's all it does. All it does is force people to do things that they otherwise don't want to do.
Right. It's like their mission statement.
Right. Yeah.
I think that we all have an innate moral compass, like we the people, and that anybody who gets in positions of power is liable to, try to circumvent that compass as best they can. For instance, I was talking to somebody today who lives in a town, or his parents live in a town, that's completely controlled by gangs. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, this happens around the world.
Yeah.
Well, more than street gangs.
Okay.
These are narcos is the term they use in Mexico.
I see. Okay.
And he says, if somebody breaks into your house, you call the narcos, and they come out and they investigate. If they find the guy, he won't make it through the day.
Right.
If there's an automobile wreck, they'll show up on the scene. They'll say you're in trouble for this reason. You're at fault for this reason, and they'll give the reasons and that kind of thing. They run the town like a government,
right?
Because wait for it, that's what the government is.
Right. Yeah.
It's the most successful gang in a given geographic area.
It's a mafia.
Yeah.
Legalized.
Well, I think that what we need to all understand is when we participate in this, is that it's an agency of force. It can be used for justice as best we can until the people who are in it aren't, wanting to act justly any longer.
Well, it even corrupts the otherwise uncorruptible, right? In my estimation, and
I don't think everybody in the government gets corrupt. I would say that
but they are forced to do things that they otherwise wouldn't do against their personal code or their morals and ethics, because that's what government is. It forces you to compromise.
Certainly it's about compromise.
603-283-6160. Is it time to abolish government?
Yes.
Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 15th through the 18th for the 7th annual Fork Fest at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. Fork Fest is a fork of the Porcupine Freedom Festival, which sold out in 2022. For 2023, we're going back to where it all started, the weekend before PorcFest. ForkFest is decentralized, which means that there's no ticket cost and no one is in charge. All you have to do to join the fun is reserve your camping site, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 15th through the 18th. You can find out more at the unofficial website forkfest.party. You can also connect with other attendees on the ForkFest Telegram and Matrix chat rooms, as well as the ForkFest forum. You can find links to those at forkfest.party. We hope to see you there June 15th through the 18th. forkfest.party.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191. Do you prefer to listen to Free Talk Live on your schedule on demand? You can find the link to our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com, which features the daily digest of our radio show 7 days a week. Just drop our RSS feed into your favorite podcast client or subscribe to us on the large platforms if you prefer, including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartMedia, Spotify, and Stitcher. All the links are at feeds.freetalklive.com. If the daily digests aren't enough for you and you really don't want to miss a moment of Free Talk Live, you can always sign up for our AMPS Patreon at amps.freetalklive.com for just $5 a month, and you'll get the full radio show without recorded commercials. Plus, you'll help us advertise, market, promote, and support Free Talk Live. That's amps.freetalklive.com to join AMPS, or feeds.freetalklive.com to get our main podcast or find us on the major podcast platforms. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. chat.lrn.fm.
Have you had enough of the big-name web hosting services that are long on promises but short on bleeding-edge features, uptime, and customer service? Try Agorist Hosting, the agile web host that offers full concierge service from website redesign, full e-commerce solutions, custom apps for your Shopify store, IPFS integration, and more. Agorist Hosting is ready to take your web presence into the future. To get started, head over to agoristhosting.com.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
And we're back. Yes, welcome back to Free Talk Live. It's the radio program where you can call in, take control of the airwaves, talk about whatever is on your mind. Here in the studio with me today,
it's Steve Classic. It's really great to be here.
And Mark Edge.
Got to put out that big
the
radio
fakest
voice.
radio
Yeah.
Well, what they do is they call this they call this puking in the business.
Puking.
Right. Well, I think the biggest advantage of holding your the muscles of your throat in this manner is that you could go on for much longer talking this way than you can in any other fashion.
Oh, I didn't think
That's
of
why
that.
those sports guys always do that, because they have to cover for a whole football
And
game.
a swing and a miss.
Yeah.
And he's on the
Right,
base.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Interesting.
Got a
huh?
3-hour baseball game.
Huh,
Jeez.
interesting. I just the only guy that I can think of that came close to that was like Tom Likas, right? Welcome to the Tom
Blow
Likas
me
show.
up, baby.
Yeah, blow me up, Tom.
Likas, I think, is the consummate puker. Like, if you want to think about somebody who pukes in the business, Tommy Likas.
Yeah. Before we go on, I need to tell you that Bitcoin.com is the best source for learning about cryptocurrency. You can go there now, click on Get Started at the top of the page. Once you do that, you'll find all sorts of valuable information neatly organized to suit your needs. There's no longer any excuse for you to ignore this very important and world-changing information. If you are a knowledgeable crypto user already, you can check out news.bitcoin.com and get the latest headlines of all the news that's relevant to you. Bitcoin.com is your source for everything crypto, like getting a wallet, mining, trading, and all the latest cryptocurrency news on a very slick and easy-to-use website. Visit bitcoin.com. All right, insert segue here.
I don't know.
What are we segueing to?
I'm trying to get more friends into Bitcoin.
Yeah,
or just any crypto. Just trying to educate people. And I said, well, the best way to for an average person is to get the Cash App, right? Because you can buy Bitcoin, you can send it. I don't know if there's an easier way to do it for the average PayPal.
I
type
always
person.
recommend the Edge wallet, but I haven't bought Bitcoin through it.
Right, but
I know
your
you
average PayPal American, your average Venmo American.
Yeah, I just the only time I used the Cash App was to deal with a friend of mine who, needs some financial help here and there.
Yeah, I don't use the Cash App. I don't use Venmo. I don't use PayPal.
I've given up on PayPal and Venmo.
Yeah, I don't use. I still have a PayPal account because every now and again I get like a royalty check for like 5 cents.
Oh, and that's
from some music from 20 years ago that's still floating around the internet. It's totally not worth it. But also,
no, that's worth it. Are you kidding me? A 5-cent royalty check? That's worth it. I'd pay $5 a month to get a 5-cent royalty check.
I did at some point when I was in the band when we first submitted and got our first royalty check from ASCAP. I put it in this crappy plastic frame, right? It's kind of like when you go into business and you get your first dollar, right? You put that.
So
that's a
who
memento.
pays it though? Who's the one giving you the royalties? I mean, are you showing up on?
So ASCAP does something
bars?
and figures out how many plays you got and how to divide those pennies amongst.
But is that on like Spotify?
Some of it's internet based, right? Internet radio, that kind of a thing. We did some album release stuff where I appeared on some other DJs shows and the new release show, that kind of a thing. We were also on a local radio station there. They do a thing called Loud and Local. It's like the local rock and metal bands, and whoever's turn it is gets
bars
to
and
appear.
restaurants have to have an ASCAP license.
Yeah,
usually,
right.
They'll get shut down. I've seen it.
And so we got onto things like early on. I figured out how to get us onto Pandora. Like before Pandora was a household name, I was like, oh, we got to get in on this. And so I was able to get us there. So there's some, royalties that come from that, that kind of thing. So
a penny here, a penny there. It adds up.
Yeah. And if you look at like the breakdown of it, that's exactly what it is. It's like, 0.04, right? Cents, right? From like this one play at this or 0.002, right? Like, they're breaking it down into thousands of cents, it's just bizarre. So I think I don't remember how much it was. I want to say it was like $1.36 was our first royalty check.
Nice.
That's big.
Yeah. $1. Like it cost probably more for them to print the thing and like spend the postage to mail it to us.
Sure.
I still have a bank account, I think, with 5 cents in it, and I get a statement every month mailed to me for 45 cents. They spend 45 cents a month to mail me a statement with an account that has 5 cents in it or something.
And you can't stop them. They're going to do it.
Right. But I did have one that had 10 cents in it, after, I think, 2 years, they finally sent me the check for 10 cents to close the account because I never used it.
So I don't use PayPal anymore for really anything. I used to do some online eBay type stuff, and I'd use PayPal for that. But I don't like using Venmo or Cash App because it's tied directly to my banks or banks in general. And I kind of don't like banks either.
Right.
Like, are banks keeping my money safe? No.
It's not your money.
Because once I deposit some money into my bank account,
it's not yours.
It's no longer mine.
Right.
They're allowing you to use it. They're allowing you to use it within a system that they have taken over in the course of your lifetime.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So the same thing with Bitcoin exchanges or crypto exchange, like FTX. Would you want to put your money there? I mean, a lot of people
not looking to right now.
No. And in fact, the crypto exchanges are, for lack of a better expression, a necessary evil, right? They're the on-ramp,
right,
if you will, to cryptocurrency. Most people, their first experience in cryptocurrency is buying some. And I think that that's the wrong way to go about it. I think your first cryptocurrency experience should be earning it.
Right.
Perform a service, create a product.
Or sell something to someone.
Sell something you already, have a garage sale, crypto only.
Right, crypto only, yeah.
Right? I don't know. Like, there's many ideas that you can have, but I think earning it. It's wintertime right now in New Hampshire and many other places. Like, how about, I'll shovel your driveway for some crypto,
Right. But you got to get those people into the crypto.
Yeah.
But like you said, you just got to take it off of the exchange, put it into Edge Wallet.
Well, with the amount of monitoring that government and banking are doing to people, like the whole $600 transaction kind of thing, and
that's why I quit.
Like the less you transact in government money, the safer you are.
That's correct.
If you can earn and sort of buy and sell within your own community of people, either with crypto or with goldbacks.
Loving the gold.
You are a much safer person because you're going to be less monitored in your transactions.
Right.
Overall. And what is the monitoring of your banking transactions anyway by a government? What would you call that? Would you call it totalitarianism? Is that a component of totalitarianism?
It probably leads right to the doorstep of totalitarianism.
It does seem like information they don't need to know, and I suspect that the Canadian truckers would probably call it totalitarianism.
Oh, yeah. A definition of totalitarian: of or relating to a political regime based on subordination of the individual to the state.
It just sounds like where we live.
And strict control of all aspects of the life and productive capacity of the nation, especially by coercive measures such as censorship and terrorism.
What? That sounds vaguely familiar.
Yeah, weird. This from fee.org, fee.org. 14 signs of totalitarianism.
That's the only amount they could come up with.
The subheading: some of these techniques are playing out before our eyes. We all know the cons of Twitter, but one of the pros is discovering new and interesting people. One of my favorite new follows is Benjamin Carlson, a public relations guru and former editor at The Atlantic. Carlson's tweets are among the best you'll find on Twitter, and he clearly has a keen understanding of the intersections between media and government, power and propaganda, both current and historically. One of his recent tweets caught my eye, and I share an adaptation of it below. All right, and so this is, we'll just go down the list. 14 signs of totalitarianism.
Are we counting backwards? Or is there like
counted from 50?
You want to go backwards?
We're coming in at number 14.
Top totalitarian hits.
This is a long distance dedication. Sure, we'll go backwards. Number 14. Private.
By the way, if you want to read the strangest story of intrigue and backstabbing, check out Casey Kasem's will, and just sort of as he didn't just die on air or anything like that. He kind of had Alzheimer's, and like the family was manipulating and getting involved. It's a crazy story.
Wow, weird. Coming up, we will talk about the 14 signs of totalitarianism, and you be the judge. Are we in a totalitarian society? 603-283-6160. More Free Talk Live is next.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Jagruti Dave. Argentina have been crowned World Cup champions after an extraordinary final against France, packed with twists and turns and a penalty shootout that had football fans on the edge of their seats. Full-time ended at 3-3, but the penalty shootout determined the final result, a 4-2 win for Argentina. Ross Cullen has more from Paris.
Well, as the World Cup comes to an end, also coming to an end, France's hopes of landing a third global title. The game itself was thrilling. France had seemed down and out. Argentina were 2-0 up with 10 minutes to go. Who, though, but Kylian Mbappe, 2 goals in 2 minutes, brought France level, and we went into extra time. Once again, Argentina took the lead with Lionel Messi scoring to put Argentina 3-2 ahead. Kylian Mbappe again dragging France level at 3-3, and Argentina and France went into that penalty shootout, which Argentina ultimately won. Lionel Messi finally winning the World Cup at the 5th and final attempt. He had confirmed before the game he was not going to play another World Cup for Argentina.
Pyongyang launched 2 more ballistic missiles on Sunday, according to both Seoul and Tokyo. They're believed to be medium range as they flew more than 300 miles from North Korea's east coast, according to authorities in Japan. The Japanese defense minister said the rockets fell into the sea outside the country's exclusive economic zone. Japan and South Korea condemned the tests, and the US Indo-Pacific Command reaffirmed what it called America's ironclad commitments to the defense of these 2 nations. North Korea has fired an unprecedented number of missiles this year, including a long-range Hwasong-17 ICBM last month. Days ago, state media reported Pyongyang had also tested a solid-fuel high-thrust engine, which could enable faster launches of ICBMs. Kyiv's mayor says the heating is back on across the Ukrainian capital after Russian rockets struck the city's infrastructure last week. In a Telegram post on Sunday, Mayor Vitaly Klitschko said all sources of heat supply work normally. This is a small bit of good news for the city's 3 million residents who've been experiencing a bone-numbingly cold winter. Our correspondent in Kyiv, Sarah Coates, explains how all this is affecting morale amongst ordinary Ukrainians.
They're worn out, but let me tell you, they are resilient. I've been speaking to so many people on the ground, and they say they can endure these conditions. They will endure these conditions. What they will not put up with is Russian occupation. There's been a lot of centres, they're called these points of invincibility, set up right around Kyiv. These are either makeshift tents powered by diesel or petrol generators. Inside they have hot tea and coffee and a little bit of something to eat.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks. Today and tomorrow, a look at the latest situation in China regarding the country's zero COVID policy. It is still officially the law of the land, though in many practical ways, the country's strict policy of lockdowns has been abandoned by the government of President Xi Jinping following public protests in various cities over the last few weeks. So, what do the numbers look like? Steve Chang is the director of the China Institute at the School of Oriental and African Studies in the UK.
The official collection of statistics on COVID data have been basically completely changed, and a lot of cases are not being recorded. Now, the anecdotal evidence is pretty overwhelmingly that hospitals now require doctors and nurses and other staff, even infected with COVID, to work if they are physically able to do so. Mortuaries are piling up with bodies, and funeral homes are working 24/7 to cremate bodies. I think it is a significant change, but in absolute number terms, the Communist Party is technically absolutely correct when they say that the number of deaths in China, both in absolute and relative terms at the moment, is still substantially below that of the UK or the US.
Tomorrow, the political consequences of the Chinese government's U-turn. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
The main headlines again. Argentina have been crowned World Cup champions after an extraordinary final against France, packed with twists and turns. Pyongyang launched 2 more ballistic missiles on Sunday, according to both Seoul and Tokyo. And Kyiv's mayor says the heating is back on across the Ukrainian capital after Russian rockets struck the city's energy infrastructure last week. And that is the latest from Feature Story News. I'm Jagruti Dave in Washington.
Hundreds of exasperated Americans confirmed Thursday that, for fuck's sake, the article they just clicked on is actually a stupid video.
I clicked on the story thinking I'd be in and out of there in 30 seconds, but then that little buffering thing popped up and I was like, here we go.
Quickly hitting the mute button after being disoriented by a loud blast of noise from some stupid ad for Hotels.com. Many of the deceived then scanned the webpage for some corresponding write-up so that they could simply read in peace, but reports indicated that would just be too convenient, wouldn't it?
Look, I don't want to watch a report or interview or panel discussion or whatever the hell this is. I just want to skim an article real quick and move on with my day. This is bullshit.
After seriously considering hitting the back button on their browsers, sources say the majority of readers decided to just let the video play out.
You know what? I'll watch the thing, and I'll probably watch the next video that automatically loads afterwards.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
And we're back. Welcome back. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening to the Sunday night edition of Free Talk Live. The telephone number, should you wish to join us, is 603-283-6160. Again, 603-283-6160. Tonight in the studio, I am your host, the Reverend Captain Kickass. Joining me,
Steve Classic
and Mark Edge.
Happy to have the, sort of the two of you in the studio simultaneously.
Yes, at the same time.
First time,
same time.
We, when we last left our heroes, that's us here in the studio.
Thank God.
We had just begun talking about this bit from fee.org, the 14 Signs of Totalitarianism, and after some verbal jostling, Steve Classic decided it would be best to, instead of go 1 to 14, let's go 14 to 1.
But we don't know if that's
We don't know how it's going to work out.
I don't know how they wrote the
I think
article.
14-1.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's what
The
we're going to
count-up,
do.
yeah.
I think they wrote it to be read 1 through 14, but that's fine.
It's fine.
We do what we want here on Free
We're
Talk
gonna
Live.
roll the dice.
You're not the boss of me.
I don't suspect any one of the things is worse than the next.
Maybe
so.
we can make our own top 14 out of these 14.
Well, let's start with number 14.
Ask the listeners.
Private and public levers of power are used to enforce adherence to state dogmas.
Well, that's fascism.
Private levers of power. That sounds like
Private
Twitter.
and public levers
Yeah, that's
of power
fascism, yeah.
are used to enforce adherence to state. How about the entire COVID thing?
Right.
How about that, right? That's a prime example of that.
Collusion.
Yes. Yep. Number 13. Harsh legal enforcement against unfavored classes. Oh, I don't know. Look at the disproportionate amount of black people who are in prisons.
Okay.
All right.
Any other examples? Harsh
January 6th
legal enforcement against unfavored
I don't know.
classes.
Well, libertarians, are certainly not widely liked. And I have this article here that, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, but from Newsweek, the first line, the FBI is conducting 3 times as many domestic terrorism investigations as it was 5 years ago.
Wow.
With 70% of its open cases focused on civil unrest and anti-government activity, according to FBI documents and government specialists. So if that doesn't say libertarians and MAGA people or whatever, I don't know what does.
Yeah, your red hat MAGA people. On
That's
January 6th.
very telling, too, that now the people of the U.S. are considered the enemy. They're not trying to protect the people of the U.S. from tyranny. They're bringing tyranny to you, serving it up to you on a silver platter in front of your face.
By the pound.
By the pound, yeah.
A
la carte.
Yeah, a la carte. Enjoy the buffet. Totalitarianism.
Totalitarian buffet.
Exactly. All you could eat.
It's not all you want to eat. It's all you can eat. They're like holding your mouth open,
Right.
shoving it down your throat,
Right.
stepping on your face
Right.
with a giant boot.
Yeah, it's like Homer in hell with the donuts. They ran out of donuts. The devil ran out of donuts.
Number 12. Extra legal actions are condoned against internal regime opponents.
Wow, those are fighting words.
January 6th.
Yeah.
Is that an example?
Yeah.
Extra legal actions are condoned against internal regime opponents.
Because the January 6th commission or whatever they put together isn't exactly legal. I mean, it's not I wouldn't call it a kangaroo court.
It's certainly a witch hunt.
But, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and say this. There really aren't fair trials in the United States anymore. So, and I'm not saying the
If there
trials
ever were.
have become unfair. I'm saying there are no trials. Ian, our co-host here, who's currently at trial, and people can get them, but they just don't because the system is rigged that they don't. It's all, psychological games, psyops, to the point that prosecutors don't even know how to prosecute a case.
Right.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you saw this prosecution, you'd be like, what am I paying for? The last case that was prosecuted in the New Hampshire District Federal Court.
Yep.
This isn't some podunk boss hog town. This is an entire state of the United States. The last case that was prosecuted was 2 years ago.
Pre-COVID?
Pre-COVID.
You think they just
It
put 'em on
may
a shelf?
be that it was Christopher Cantwell. We can't figure it out.
It is interesting to me that they are as apparently inept at presenting a case. At least so far, what I've seen is discombobulation, no cohesion within their the prosecution's team of lawyers from person to person. Everybody has their assignments. Like, Jill, you're going to do this witness, and Bob, you're going to ask this witness, and that kind of a thing. Their team is there, and they're all assigned different things, but they don't seem to be a team in the classic sense, right? It's not like a sports team where they're all working together in conjunction with each other to get to. They're all just focused on their individual task without relation to each other.
Yeah,
and their
like bureaucrats.
Yeah, and it's a very discombobulated presentation.
But do you think they're trying to put extra charges in there so you could say, all right, I'll plea to this if you drop these. Like if you got 20 charges, all right, I'll take the 2 charges, and you think you have a deal. I don't know.
Number 11, Entire classes singled out for persecution. Have we seen this?
Well, I'm sure that every class would claim that they were. Right? They.
Well, what is a class of person?
Well,
financially?
Financial is probably the first thing you should go to with class.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the underclasses would argue that they are singled out for persecution. Yeah. But the upper classes would do the same. The vast majority of tax revenue comes from the upper classes.
Mm-hmm.
So they're being extorted by their standard too. Now, if you're talking about classes and groups of people, this minorities as they're called.
Well, what about the unvaccinated?
Oh.
Would that be a class of people singled out for persecution during
I feel like it is.
COVID?
Yeah, but that mindset fits into all financial classes.
It's true.
Social classes.
It's true.
So it's probably a side symptom. What would it be of a class?
Side effect?
Side effect? I know. I don't know. Myocarditis. I'm having a stroke.
It sounds like you're like a chronic elderly. Oh, my old carditis acting up again.
It's a old I got gratin on my feet.
Don't walk so fast. My old carditis is acting up. Number 10. Propaganda targets enemies of the state regime. All the anti-cryptocurrency propaganda that we've seen. Right? We know that cryptocurrency is an enemy of the state regime. Mm-hmm. The state is afraid of cryptocurrency and what it might do to them as an organization because it has the ability to replace bureaucracy entirely.
Well, I think they might be trying to co-opt it, though. Like, FTX bad. Look at all the bad stuff. Like, it's bad. Don't touch it. It's not good for you. While in the background, they're probably accumulating. Possibly. I don't know. The Fed is probably adding it to their, to their quantitative easing.
Yeah, I wouldn't claim that that FTX was an obvious, overt op by the government. But if it isn't, well, it ought to be. Right now, the dollar hasn't been in worse shape in decades.
No, ever, really, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
I think maybe it has less value today than ever.
That's true, but it's also accepted more widely around the world. But, not as good as it was a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Right. But when you get off the petrodollar, that's when the real...
That's when it's going to be disastrous.
That's going to be disastrous because we make a lot of money making money or printing money or using dollars for oil.
The United States government does, yes,
right.
It's true, as well as the banks. Number 9.
Uh-oh.
Coming up.
I hear that tune.
Coming up, we'll get to the other 9 of the 14. Of the
We've got
14
50 more
signs
after that.
of totalitarianism here on Free Talk Live. So far, we've talked about private and public levers of power used to enforce dogmas, harsh legal enforcement, extra-legal actions, entire classes singled out, and propaganda targets enemies of the state regime. More coming up.
Excuse me, is this where I get a license to start a new business?
I wouldn't be hasty. You have to get a license to go out of business, too,
Oh, well, look, I've invented this little anti-gravity machine, see?
Oh, is that why you're walking 2 inches above the floor?
Oh, yes, it's very comfortable. It saves on shoe leather.
Yeah, well, you have to fill out these forms and report to the Human Services Department of Manpower Orientation and register with the Fair Employment Practice Commission, the Wage and Hour Division of the Employment Standards Administration, the State Sales and Income Tax Division, the Internal Revenue Service, and the Social Security Administration of the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare, and, of course, OSHA.
OSHA? I thought that was a little town in Wisconsin.
You'll find out. Say, floating around like that could be dangerous. Have you checked with the Consumer Product Safety Commission?
Well, not yet.
Come to think of it, you actually are flying, aren't you? Look, you need to go over to the Federal Aviation Administration and the Transportation...
It's very hard to get anything done these days if you're in business, but free enterprise built this country. Think what could happen if we don't keep it free. A public service of this station and the Center for the Defense of Free Enterprise, Bellevue, Washington.
We just can't have people floating about unregulated,
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. Gold and silver. You can own the most stable assets in recorded history with BullionMax.com. Buy direct from BullionMax.com without talking to a salesperson, and your precious metals ship fully insured directly to your home. Free Talk Live can get you their silver starter kit at employee pricing. Just go to BullionMax.com/FTL. It includes 5 ounces of the most desirable silver products plus a free gold back. This offer is limited to 1 per household, so get yours now. Go to BullionMax.com/FTL. Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
Should you be able to earn an honest living free from senseless government interference? The Institute for Justice thinks so. That's why we've spent years defending hard-working men and women from pointless government regulations. Nationwide, IJ has created opportunity by reducing government power. But there is still more work to be done. Visit our website today at ij.org. Let IJ take care of the government so you can take care of your business.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
We're back. Where are we, Mark?
Back.
Oh, sweet. Thanks for pointing that out. I don't know how we've ever known this. The telephone number here is 603-283-6160. If you'd like to join us, we'll get to your calls and thoughts momentarily. This is Free Talk Live. We are a live radio call-in program where anyone can call in, take control of the airwaves, and talk about whatever they want. We've been talking about some stuff tonight. We've talked about how crappy the FBI is and how they should be abolished along with, well, for the rest of the government, really. We do come at things from the perspective of peace, freedom, and prosperity. So that's generally how we address topics that come up. But if you'd like to join us, feel free. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the captain.
Steve Classic.
And Mark Edge.
We want to get back. We've only gotten to the first 5 or so of these 14 signs of totalitarianism, and we'll get back to that. But first, let's go to Sarah in New Mexico. Sarah, you're on Free Talk Live.
Oh, yes. Thanks for talking with me. I just came back from El Paso visiting for 2 days, and I actually witnessed a live active oil refinery chimneys. I I mean, where I live in New Mexico, we don't have any of that.
There's not a lot of oil refineries in the U.S.
Yeah, but they got them. They got the one that are pumping out smoke in El Paso.
Doesn't surprise me at all that there might be oil refineries in Texas.
Sarah, I have a question before we continue this discussion. When you were out in the West Texas town of El Paso, did you fall in love with a Mexican girl?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, just checking.
No, I don't think so. But I did find a lot of air pollution that was getting in my eyes while I was on the bus, breathing it all in. And I feel it more in the winter time when I come there during the Christmas time. That's when I feel it the most, because I guess it's what you call an inversion. The cold air pushes all the air pollution down into the city instead of being like aired out.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what it's called? But it was just awful. And I think I remember seeing these things in Los Angeles. I used to live there, like when I was 13, like 40 years ago. But of course, California, they clean all that up. I don't think they have any of those in LA County anymore. So, but
LA used to be one of the worst possible
smog, yeah.
Just overhang of cloud and that kind of thing.
But California had the catalytic converter basically added to cars, and it went nationwide because as California goes, so goes the nation these days.
Sadly.
Yeah, but I remember LA used to do that, and they used to have these chimneys. I remember when I was like a teenager.
Are you talking about smokestacks, Sarah? Is that what we're talking about?
Volcanoes, maybe?
I'm talking about chimneys, oil refineries. And actually, it was like 10 times worse than what I was feeling in El Paso. But I remember that. I remember it's like it was the smoke coming out of the refineries, and the LA. It was not a big deal 40 years ago, but they had to. What are they doing now? They stopped all that. They have a lot of regulation. But I remember feeling
it's very difficult to open an oil refinery in the United States, and this is the complaint from a lot of the oil companies. You kind of have to be near a population center so that you can have skilled labor to work at the refinery, but nobody likes it because it releases all kinds of stuff that nobody wants in their air, and it's a difficult conundrum. If you want cheaper travel, we need more oil refineries. If you want to make it more difficult to use fossil fuels, we need fewer, right? This is the crux of the problem.
So I would say that in New Mexico, we don't put up with fracking. All of our Democrat legislature, I have never seen any of this in our county, in northern New Mexico. So only place they have it in the south, really close to like El Paso area, where they kind of vote Republican. I guess they kind of towards the Texas border. That's where we get that Yvette Herrell. She was a Republican congressman that got elected out of that. But then I think they might have some oil refineries, but they always make them put them down.
So, Sarah, when you saw these chimneys, were they emitting flame?
No, it was like white smoke. And I have to
steam.
Like, what is that? I said, what kind of a smoke is that? Are they burning firewood? It was like a white smoke.
Yeah, white smoke is usually steam.
Yeah. The white smoke is the good stuff.
Well, it's a white pollution smoke, too. It was getting in my eyes, and it's an oil refinery. So what is that? That is a byproduct of heating up the oil to refine it, to purify it? Is that what it is?
I couldn't tell you.
Or cooling it down. So the flames, you'll see this at oil refineries. You'll see the large stack with a flame coming out of the top. That's something called flaring, where they're like burning off excess stuff,
usually
off the oil
natural gas of some sort.
Right, yeah, to refine the product that they have. So they figure out a way to divide it and burn off the excess so that what they're left with is a more pure product. But as far as white smoke coming out of smokestacks, that kind of a thing, my understanding is normally that's steam from them cooling something down. Now, it could be that something is burning and that's going to be smoke, but smoke generally isn't white.
Unless it's at the Vatican.
Right.
You might get a new pope.
So, I just want to bring up that Texas was rated the most polluted state of the whole entire country as they found most toxins in the soil. But,
So the military must have a large presence there.
Well, they have a base. They have a base in El Paso.
Oh, yes, they do. Yeah.
They've got one there in New Mexico, too.
Probably a burn pits.
Yeah, but New Mexico, we don't put up with any of that. I haven't seen any of it except closer to El Paso, that area. That's the only place they would have a refinery. But my thing is, hey, let's all get electric bicycles. Let's all, ride public transportation. This is time to, do away with this air pollution. I mean,
do you have an electric bicycle?
Aren't we all tired of it? No, I'm thinking of getting an electric bike. I'm looking at that. What is that generator bike from that Germans created that?
Yeah.
Remember you're telling me I could order it on the computer?
Well, there's lots
eBay or
of
something?
electric bikes out there. I don't know if you have to have one from the Germans.
Yeah, no, you don't have to have one from. It's a whole industry now.
But I will say that Germans are known for great manufacturing,
among other things.
The technology is that they have a generator right where the water bottle goes, right below the seat.
Uh-huh.
The coils are the steel coils, and they have a magnet going up inside and out, and the piston. That's a piston. Hooked up to the gear of the bicycle, and that is what's creating the electricity every time you pedal. In fact, after 15 miles of pedaling, you never have to pedal ever again, and that's what we need. So that we gotta get them in Walmart. I want them in Target. I want.
Good luck with your bicycle purchase, Sarah. We
Sounds
appreciate the call, and let us know what you end up getting and how it works.
Put your money where your mouth's at.
603-283-6160. I've considered getting an e-bike. Have you?
No.
Give us a call. Let us know. This is Free Talk Live.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market. Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. Physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Jagruti Dave. Argentina have been crowned World Cup champions after an extraordinary final against France, packed with twists and turns and a penalty shootout that had football fans on the edge of their seats. Full-time ended at 3-3, but the penalty shootout determined the final result, a 4-2 win for Argentina. Ross Cullen has more from Paris.
Well, as the World Cup comes to an end, also coming to an end, France's hopes of landing a third global title. The game itself was thrilling. France had seemed down and out. Argentina were 2-0 up with 10 minutes to go. Who, though, but Kylian Mbappe, 2 goals in 2 minutes, brought France level, and we went into extra time. Once again, Argentina took the lead with Lionel Messi scoring to put Argentina 3-2 ahead. Kylian Mbappe again dragging France level at 3-3, and Argentina and France went into that penalty shootout, which Argentina ultimately won. Lionel Messi finally winning the World Cup at the 5th and final attempt. He had confirmed before the game he was not going to play another World Cup for Argentina.
Pyongyang launched 2 more ballistic missiles on Sunday, according to both Seoul and Tokyo. They're believed to be medium range as they flew more than 300 miles from North Korea's east coast, according to authorities in Japan. The Japanese defense minister said the rockets fell into the sea outside the country's exclusive economic zone. Japan and South Korea condemned the tests, and the US Indo-Pacific Command reaffirmed what it called America's ironclad commitments to the defense of these two nations. North Korea has fired an unprecedented number of missiles this year, including a long-range Hwasong-17 ICBM last month. Days ago, state media reported Pyongyang had also tested a solid-fuel high-thrust engine, which could enable faster launches of ICBMs. Kyiv's mayor says the heating is back on across the Ukrainian capital after Russian rockets struck the city's infrastructure last week. In a Telegram post on Sunday, Mayor Vitaly Klitschko said all sources of heat supply work normally. This is a small bit of good news for the city's 3 million residents who've been experiencing a bone-numbingly cold winter. Our correspondent in Kyiv, Sarah Coates, explains how all this is affecting morale amongst ordinary Ukrainians.
They're worn out, but let me tell you, they are resilient. I've been speaking to so many people on the ground and they say they can endure these conditions. They will endure these conditions. What they will not put up with is Russian occupation. There's been a lot of centres, they're called these points of invincibility, set up right around Kyiv. These are either makeshift tents powered by diesel or petrol generators. Inside they have hot tea and coffee and a little bit of something to eat.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FM.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
And we're back. We are.
Yes, we are.
Very well. Well said, Mark. We are back. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. It is the Sunday night edition of Free Talk Live.
Silverback.
Silverback.
Goldback.
Silverbacks.
Hopefully we don't have
Silverbacks.
Silverbacks.
It's Christmas time in the studio. You should hang that.
I like
that to the camera.
Now's the time for the Bullion Max ad.
Well, except it's not on the schedule for today.
Oh, well, we should talk about it anyway. Hey, you want to do Christmas for your friends and neighbors. Bullion Max is a great option for you. I guess it's called the Silver Starter Pack. And, well, let's see. I'll read the ad here. You just handed it to me. This hour of Free Talk Live is brought to you by Bullion Max. Inflation is a real problem. The Federal Reserve's endless printing is eating away at your savings. Savvy investors are diversifying into the most stable assets in recorded history, gold and silver. Get yours from bullionmax.com/FTL without dealing with a salesperson. Your precious metals ship fully insured directly from your home. It's fast. It's easy. Free Talk Live listeners can get a special deal, employee pricing on Bullion Max's Silver Starter Kit. Just go to bullionmax.com/FTL. The kit includes 5 ounces of silver from the world's most popular mints, different types.
Oh, what's that website again?
It's bullionmax.com and then /FTL. Plus, you get a free gold back. And this is, we're talking about the silverbacks here, gold back. Little piece of gold. Just go to bullionmax.com/FTL. It's the perfect time to invest in precious metals, so don't miss this limited time special offer. Start your investment with bullionmax.com/FTL today.
Gonna change your name to Steve Wealthy.
I just got my shipment of goldbacks this week.
There's gold in them their hands.
Stocked up, baby, stocked up.
I love them.
The goldbacks make great stocking stuffers too.
Yeah.
If you're looking for something unique. I haven't met anyone that wasn't enthused about the goldback when either shown or given one.
Everyone is fascinated.
Yeah.
Like I say, do you take goldbacks? Like, what are you talking about goldbacks? Like, you haven't heard of goldbacks? And then you break one out and they're like, wow, look at that. And then you just explain it. And then they're, wow.
Yeah. Right.
They're just blown away.
Well, we're at the first point in history where they've been able to take gold and turn it into something as easy to carry around as a bill. And that's pretty impressive. It's exciting times.
Spendable gold is something that, only could be dreamt of prior to this point in history. So
bullionmax.com/FTL.
Get your silver.
That sounds like silver too.
Sound effect and everything.
Yeah.
You are an audio guy.
Silver.
We've been talking about the 14 signs of totalitarianism, and we're going in reverse order from 14 to 1. We've gotten down to, we went through 10. So number 9, semi-organized violence is permitted in some cases.
So that's the brown shirts they're referring to there in authoritarianism.
I was thinking about the protest where they burned the police precinct.
Yes.
Mid-COVID.
As was I.
That was, what's the word that I'm looking for?
Peaceful protest?
A mostly peaceful protest. Yeah.
Right. In Kenosha, Wisconsin.
Whereas everything was prohibited, everybody was locked down, except for if you went to this particular event.
Right.
Semi-organized violence was permitted.
Yeah.
No COVID out there.
It's a good thing to wear a mask during something like that. Yeah. You don't want to get identified. It's amazing how the FBI has managed to swoop up everybody who was even tertiary related to January 6th, but nobody who was related to those riots across the nation.
Yep.
It's almost as if they don't care. As long as you don't threaten state power, no big deal.
I love it how they'll post something. The news will post something of someone who robs a bank and he was wearing a mask. I laugh at that every time.
Yeah, I remember when
it's encouraged.
I remember when if you walked into a bank wearing a mask, everybody got real uncomfortable real quick. And now it's like, well, you're not wearing one?
Yeah, right.
We don't trust you. Don't trust you.
Number 8. Power is concentrated in inner ring of elite institutions and people. Well,
wow.
Have you seen the government? Have you seen the banks?
Right.
That's it.
Big education.
Have you seen the media companies? I think there was 6. I think we're down to 5 or 4 now.
Media industrial complex.
Yeah. That one definitely hits real hard. Number 7, mass conformity of beliefs and behaviors is demanded.
Right. You're allowed to be as diverse as you want, as long as it isn't diversity of thought.
That's right. Make sure you have a Ukraine flag out on your porch.
Right.
Or we're going to burn your house down.
Yeah, there used to be like a streak of rebellion running through the people of the United States of America in which, conformity was a bit opposed to. It was sort of like, no, we won't conform. And that seems to have gone away.
Yeah, the pioneer spirit, the rugged individualist.
Yeah. It just seems to have gone away outside
What amazes me is that people who are ostensibly educated somehow believe that now is the time in human history when we have all the good ideas and none of the bad ones. Right? You may not deviate from my thought process because I am correct. I don't know which bathroom to use, but I am correct on this process, right? But, we're 100 years from people using holes for a bathroom.
Yes.
We don't know anything, and we're here saying all those people knew nothing. Burn the church where George Washington went to church because he owned slaves. I'm not saying owning slaves is good. I'm just saying that, you kind of have to look at historical context. 100 years from now, these purple-headed morons are going to be looked at like Himmler. I don't know what else to say.
You summed it up pretty righteously.
I would say that one's my favorite so far on the list.
Mass conformity of beliefs and behaviors is demanded. And it has,
right.
COVID,
right? Wear the mask, get your shot.
Even
support
go
Ukraine.
back further, the Patriot Act, right? The TSA, right? Mass conformity of beliefs and behaviors.
Come on.
Is demanded. Number 6, rights, financial, legal, and civil, are contingent on compliance. That's how I understand the government works, right?
Yep.
They're not really rights; they're a temporary set of privileges,
right?
That they allow you to enjoy.
You want to keep your restaurant open? You have to wear masks.
Yeah,
or we'll shut you down.
I don't feel like rights are even talked about by the government anymore. It's just they swear an oath to the Constitution because the Constitution gives them power, but they don't talk about rights at all any longer. I just went through 2 weeks of a federal trial.
Yep.
Not one time was it suggested that you might have the right to sell Bitcoin because there wasn't a law written about it. However, the U.S. Constitution, the 10th Amendment, very clearly says, very clearly, any rights not mentioned in here. Yeah, I don't have it sitting in front of me or anything. But any rights not mentioned in this little piece of paper here that we, drummed up and threatened Rhode Island with a blockade if they didn't sign.
Right. By a bunch of 18, 19-year-olds, by the way. Like the average founder was, 20?
They weren't. Yeah, they were young men.
They weren't old, that's for sure.
They didn't live that long back then. So any of these rights that aren't mentioned are remanded back to the people and to the states, respectively.
Right.
And, to best I can tell, the right to sell Bitcoin, the right to regulate Bitcoin, not part of the federal government's purview.
Yeah.
But, and by the way, none of the laws they are using mention Bitcoin at all.
Right, yeah.
But somehow they've got the right to do it. No one even talks about it. The states don't have rights. There's no mention of rights. Rights are just a forgotten concept.
Yeah, and that is the state of, the state.
Unless you want to talk about positive rights, the right to an education, the right to medical care. People talk about that stuff.
The right to somebody else's labor.
Health care is a right.
603-283-6160. What other rights are we missing? This is Free Talk Live. More coming up.
Does this ever happen to you? Moments after you're introduced to someone, you forget his or her name. It's a common faux pas you'll want to avoid, especially if you're a job seeker. And even if you're not, here's a tip. As you are being introduced, and while you're still shaking hands, smiling, and making eye contact, say the person's name aloud. Not only does that make a deposit in your memory bank, it acknowledges the other person. And that is more than a nuance, as is maintaining eye contact. With money and attention so scarce now, effective communication skills have never been more important. Cutting through the clutter rather than blending into the blah, blah, blah will help you connect better, no matter what the conversation. For more tips, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
I'm a little obsessed with My Magic Mud. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, the founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I didn't even know my teeth were coffee stained. A week's worth of use convinced me, and now I use it every 3 or 4 days. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, and I think it cleans better, too. My Magic Mud's available at most local health food stores, Sprouts, Natural Grocers, CVS, Walmart's Natural Beauty Aisle, but I can get it for you for 20% off with coupon code FTL20 at mymagicmud.com. FTL20 mymagicmud.com.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live.
Yeah, then what are you going to do about it? Instead of sitting on a microphone, what are you going to do about it?
I've stopped paying income tax. My partner spent 60 days in jail for standing in the way of a police car that was taking somebody to jail that he didn't believe should be taken to jail.
So I've done cop blocking, I've done outreach, I've done all kinds of stuff. Do you need more? I've run for political office, I've gone to the State House and testified many times, and I also do civil disobedience. What else can I do?
You know, it's like it's pathetic, really. I mean, it's
What's
bad.
pathetic, sir? What's pathetic?
The two of you are.
How's that exactly?
The two of you are, because you're pathetic. You just sit there and rail about stuff that you don't do a thing about.
What are you doing, Danny? Tell me something I could do that's not pathetic.
I'm not hosting a show. I'm not hosting a show. I'm not the one that comes.
So you have no ideas. You have nothing original.
He's got microphone
and
in
now you're going bye-bye.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
And we're back. And we're back. And we're back. That's right.
Echo.
That's right. We're back. Again. It is Free Talk Live. Free Talk
Live.
The telephone number 603-283-6160. Again, 603-283-6160. We're getting a little bit of an echo there. It's an audio problem. It sounds like it's
well,
resolved
it's a good
now.
thing you didn't say what the phone number, because it would be 603-603-283-283. And like, what's the number?
616.
Yeah, 616.
It gets very confusing. Yeah, absolutely. You start repeating
a 30-digit phone number.
In studio, me, Captain.
Me, Steve Classic.
Me, Mark Edge.
we went from like delay to like caveman speak. Let's go phone.
Let's go to phone.
We Jerome, South Carolina, online.
You sound like Cro-Magnon, man.
Drag us into the 21st century, Jerome.
Me, host radio.
What's up, Cro-Magnon? Look, this. I got something that aggravates me about this soccer. You know, I know it's big, it's worldwide, it's global.
Wait, soccer or sake?
No, not soccer.
Soccer. Okay, you mean football?
Football.
That's what they call it.
Goal.
What's wrong? What's wrong with soccer, Jerome?
Man, that penalty kick, that is such a rig job. Do you know what the dimensions are of that soccer net is? 24 feet wide, 8 feet high, and 5 feet deep. How is one man supposed to defend that size of an area against a guy kicking a soccer ball?
Yeah, 100%.
How?
Basically, soccer, soccer, in my opinion, is jump the shark, because for the very reason you're talking about. Essentially, almost no points are scored during the game.
Well, so then it must be pretty easy to defend that large of an area if soccer is so low scoring.
Well, what the problem is that then these guys fake injuries, right? Oh, somebody came within 3 feet of me. And they fall down, they cry, and then the ref shows the yellow card. They hop right back up, and they're fine. And then they get their penalty kick, right? This poor goalie, he's just got to jump one way or the other. He doesn't know which way it's going to go. If he picks the wrong direction, foop, they go in.
You think those
are the only points?
You think these free kicks are 50-50 shot?
They're a bit less than that, but not much less.
Jerome?
Look, but I also hate field goal kickers too, so hey.
I love the field goal kicker. This guy's figured out the whole game of football. By that, I mean American football. He jogs on the field. He gives a little wave to the girls. Hello. Look at my tiny little pads.
3 seconds left on the clock.
I shall score me some points. Poop, off it goes through, and then he jogs back off. Touch him, 15 yards.
The only better, I think, position in NFL football is the second or third string quarterback.
Why is that?
All you do is hold the clipboard.
Second string punter.
Hey, you know what I think?
Don't care them.
You know what I think?
What do you think, Jerome?
I think someone needs some therapy. You need to talk to someone about your problems.
Well, we're talking to you right now.
Talking about my problem. Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, right.
But my problems mirror your problems.
We are but a reflection of you, Jerome.
Did you? And I'd like to listen to the response of the Argentinian announcer on them, getting the World Cup today. Man, I ain't never heard nothing like that before.
He
What
didn't
did he
just
say?
go,
I didn't hear it.
He didn't just go,
Yeah.
No.
That didn't happen?
Like for about 20 minutes. And he was crying and everything.
Wow.
Man,
Well,
what is this?
it's not every day that Argentina gets to beat an empire. They did get their butt handed to them in the 80s by the English.
He sounded, what he sounded like? Someone stole his binky and they're not giving it back. I mean, it was like, I said, man, I've never heard anything like this before. I guess it's a big deal, huh?
It's a big
Wow.
deal. Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm
Well,
still
I
not
think
a
those
soccer
Argentinians, some of those Argentinians are finally glad they finally got to beat the French after 60 or 70 years since World War II.
What was that comment in the background?
That was me going, That's my best French impersonation.
We gonna rush you to therapy real soon because you got a whole lot of it needs to be worked on.
I'm in radio for a reason.
Okay.
I love, I think that it was a great game. I love the French. I love the Argentinians, and I'm glad that they got a chance to play.
Jerome, thank you for the call. We appreciate you. Jerome's hilarious. Let's go to Dodger calling from Michigan. Dodger, you on Free Talk Live?
All right, now, first off, my Detroit Lions actually won today because of a missed field goal by the Jets. So, yeah. So,
was it in fact the two worst rated football teams in the NFL playing today?
Actually, no. They're actually the Detroit Lions are an upcoming team right now that nobody wants to play, and the Jets are somebody that made it pretty good early in the season and are kind of falling off. So they kind of have different momentums going.
All right, there's whole platforms dedicated to sports. Let's get to Free Talk Live stuff, Dodger. What were you calling about?
Yes, sir. First off, a long-time listener since 2013.
Thanks.
It was Mark that brought me to libertarianism.
Awesome.
I probably, at either rate, I think that there is my brother, who is also my roommate, that is so much of a libertarian that he doesn't even realize that he is.
Well, first defend the case. Why is your brother a libertarian but doesn't know?
He hates politics.
Okay. Libertarianism is a moral stance, to my mind, as opposed to a political stance. So,
yeah.
And I was lamenting during the break to both Mark and Steve Classic here that I would bet you that almost every libertarian would say something along the lines of I didn't know I was libertarian either until somebody explained it to me, and I was like, that's how I've always felt.
Here's your name badge.
Do you mind? I know we're coming up on the top of the hour, but do you mind me explaining how I came to libertarianism?
I don't mind at all. I just want to give people an example of how libertarianism is a moral stance as opposed to a political one. So, for instance, when the whole world's upset about the woke stuff and the cross-dressers reading to the kids in the library, right? Big problems. Well, DeSantis, the governor of Florida, clearly a conservative, clearly a Republican, comes out and says, we're going to pull Disney's private city, tax break. Well, what does one have to do with the other? Nothing. A libertarian would never do such a thing. A libertarian would be like, well, I think everybody should have these low taxes, not just Disney.
Right.
And they wouldn't pull that.
Touché.
They may speak out against it, which I certainly do, but the idea of using political power against your political enemies isn't really a libertarian thing to do. So go ahead, tell us about how you came to libertarianism.
Well, it was initially listening to the banter. I was a hard leftist. I used to listen to talk radio so that I could yell at the radio.
Yeah.
And then the whole Edward Snowden thing happened. I'd heard Glenn Beck and like I don't know, that there was another big name at the time in the mornings that somehow made a little more sense, but I was still yelling at the radio. I just thought myself to be such a liberal or progressive at the time. And then I heard Free Talk Live when the whole Edward Snowden thing was going on. I'm like, these two dudes, I mean, that they're making a lot of sense, type of thing, which is kind of why I become kind of a Mark fanboy, I guess you could say.
Well, thank you.
But I like to really pick your guys' brains about.
Dodger, you want to hang on?
Sure.
All right, stand by. We'll keep you over. It's the long break, but stand by. 603-283-6160. This is Free Talk Live. More coming up with Dodger and how he came to libertarianism and what that has to do with Free Talk Live, as well as a bunch of other fun stuff, including an artificial womb.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com. Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
Have you had enough of the big-name web hosting services that are long on promises but short on bleeding-edge features, uptime, and customer service? Try Agorist Hosting, the agile web host that offers full concierge service from website redesign, full e-commerce solutions, custom apps for your Shopify store, IPFS integration, and more. Agorist Hosting is ready to take your web presence into the future. To get started, head over to agoristhosting.com.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Jagruti Dave. Argentina have been crowned World Cup champions after an extraordinary final against France, packed with twists and turns and a penalty shootout that had football fans on the edge of their seats. Full-time ended at 3-3, but the penalty shootout determined the final result, a 4-2 win for Argentina. Ross Cullen has more from Paris.
Well, as the World Cup comes to an end, also coming to an end, France's hopes of landing a third global title. The game itself was thrilling. France had seemed down and out. Argentina were 2-0 up with 10 minutes to go. Who, though, but Kylian Mbappe. 2 goals in 2 minutes brought France level, and we went into extra time. Once again, Argentina took the lead with Lionel Messi scoring to put Argentina 3-2 ahead. Kylian Mbappe again dragging France level at 3-3, and Argentina and France went into that penalty shootout, which Argentina ultimately won. Lionel Messi finally winning the World Cup at the 5th and final attempt. He had confirmed before the game he was not going to play another World Cup for Argentina.
Pyongyang launched 2 more ballistic missiles on Sunday, according to both Seoul and Tokyo. They're believed to be medium range as they flew more than 300 miles from North Korea's east coast, according to authorities in Japan. The Japanese defense minister said the rockets fell into the sea outside the country's exclusive economic zone. Japan and South Korea condemned the tests, and the US Indo-Pacific Command reaffirmed what it called America's ironclad commitments to the defense of these two nations. North Korea has fired an unprecedented number of missiles this year, including a long-range Hwasong-17 ICBM last month. Days ago, state media reported Pyongyang had also tested a solid-fuel, high-thrust engine, which could enable faster launches of ICBMs. Kyiv's mayor says the heating is back on across the Ukrainian capital after Russian rockets struck the city's infrastructure last week. In a Telegram post on Sunday, Mayor Vitaly Klitschko said all sources of heat supply work normally. This is a small bit of good news for the city's 3 million residents who've been experiencing a bone-numbingly cold winter. Our correspondent in Kyiv, Sarah Coates, explains how all this is affecting morale amongst ordinary Ukrainians.
They're worn out, but let me tell you, they are resilient. I've been speaking to so many people on the ground and they say they can endure these conditions. They will endure these conditions. What they will not put up with is Russian occupation. There's been a lot of centres, they're called these points of invincibility, set up right around Kyiv. These are either makeshift tents powered by diesel or petrol generators. Inside they have hot tea and coffee and a little bit of something to eat.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks. Today and tomorrow, a look at the latest situation in China regarding the country's zero COVID policy. It is still officially the law of the land, though in many practical ways, the country's strict policy of lockdowns has been abandoned by the government of President Xi Jinping following public protests in various cities over the last few weeks. So, what do the numbers look like? Steve Chang is the director of the China Institute at the School of Oriental and African Studies in the UK.
The official collection of statistics on COVID data have been basically completely changed, and a lot of cases are not being recorded. Now, the anecdotal evidence is pretty overwhelmingly that hospitals now require doctors and nurses and other staff, even infected with COVID, to work if they are physically able to do so. Mortuaries are piling up with bodies, and funeral homes are working 24/7 to cremate bodies. I think it is a significant change, but in absolute number terms, the Communist Party is technically absolutely correct when they say that the number of deaths in China, both in absolute and relative terms at the moment, is still substantially below that of the UK or the US.
Tomorrow, the political consequences of the Chinese government's U-turn. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
The main headlines again. Argentina have been crowned World Cup champions after an extraordinary final against France, packed with twists and turns. Pyongyang launched 2 more ballistic missiles on Sunday, according to both Seoul and Tokyo. And Kyiv's mayor says the heating is back on across the Ukrainian capital after Russian rockets struck the city's energy infrastructure last week. And that is the latest from Feature Story News. I'm Jagruti Dave in Washington.
Like many young inner-city students, Chicago area high school sophomore Brandy Perkins struggles every day to motivate her teachers. The frustrated 16-year-old talked to Onion reporters this morning to discuss the challenges she faces in reaching out to her underperforming educators.
Connecting with the teachers gets harder and harder every year. We all come in every morning eager to learn, but most of the teachers just seem completely uninterested in education. One of my teachers, Miss Manley, has been particularly hard to work with. She was quiet at first, but she showed some potential. I thought maybe she just needed a little time to come out of her shell, but as the weeks went by, she just sat there listlessly at her desk, never talking or participating. It just makes you feel so helpless.
For more on this story, check this week's Onion Review.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
And we're back. And we're back. And we're back.
And we're back.
And we're back again.
And we're back.
It's Sunday night here at Free Talk Live, coming to you from the LRN.FM studios. We're on, I don't know, close to 200 radio stations. We're online worldwide.
Worldwide.
We're a global phenomenon, that's right. And, we're on some satellite stations, too. The telephone number, if you'd like to join, is 603-283-6160. In the studio, it's me, Captain.
Steve Classic.
Mark Edge.
We were talking with a caller named Dodger, and we'll get back to him in just a second. But before we do, I want to say thank you to Joe Schenk. Joe is tonight's amplifier. What's an amplifier, you might ask? Well, if you go visit amps.freetalklive.com, you can find out all about the amplifier program. Essentially, Joe Schenk decided he wanted to contribute to this radio program that you're listening to right now and help us get onto more radio stations to help us advertise, market, promote, and support. So he joined the AMPS program over at amps.freetalklive.com. He's given us $5 a month. That's all we ask for. You can give more. There's different levels. Joe's a silver level. And
silver.
He purportedly... oh, nice. Sound effects, yeah. He purportedly enjoys the show, the hosts, the co-hosts, the topics, the the wide variety of callers that we have, and enjoys the perspective of peace, liberty, and prosperity that we bring. If you would like to help us, please visit amps.freetalklive.com. Thank you again, Joe Schenk, for your contribution. All right, let's go back to the phones and back to Dodger. Dodger, when we last left our heroes, that's us here in the studio, you were regaling us, or about to regale us, with the tale of how you came to libertarianism.
Well, yeah, and I came from. I had Barack Obama signs in my lawn in 2008. Let's just say that.
Okay. Were you able to smell what Barack was cooking?
Well, let's just say that the Hopi changey thing.
Yeah, who doesn't want that?
None of it. None of it benefited me, and then I rocked to the other side, and I voted for Romney in 2012.
Ooh, okay.
Wow.
And
it's been a rough life.
So, yeah, I mean, I was rocking back and forth, and at either rate, I hadn't heard of Ron Paul at the time, and it's probably because, at either rate, looking for confirmation bias.
Yeah.
My real reason that I'm calling into the show is to ask, essentially, have you guys ever seen the Boondock Saints?
I've heard of it, but no, I haven't watched it.
So somebody recently online put up.
Well, essentially, the tale is of two Catholic brothers that are just so similar that, like, as they're walking away from anywhere, they light their cigarettes at the same time. Like, everything is intertwined.
Okay.
So that's kind of me and my brother, and so we live together.
Right.
I mean, it just kind of makes sense. And he is so anti-political. I suggested, because we're tired of paying rent, I'm like, hey, let's look at New Hampshire. I'm kind of somebody.
You still pay rent in New Hampshire, just so you know.
What was that?
You still pay rent in New Hampshire.
It's not a utopia.
No, but I want to get out of the world's largest mitten. I mean,
yeah.
I'm trying to get out of here, and so what made me think about this is because he is so anti-political. He doesn't pay attention. He'll look at something and he'll just be like, "That isn't right."
Well, it's entirely possible, Dodger, that your brother is an anarchist.
Oh, I'm fairly certain of it. I know I am, and so let's just say, I mentioned going to visit this next summer. I said, well, there happens to be 2 festivals, and I described the 2 festivals, and he said, well, I think that I'd rather go to the Fork one. He says that the other one just doesn't sound like it would be as much fun. So herein lies my question for the panel of 3. Can somebody be so much of a libertarian that they don't realize that they're even a libertarian?
I think the answer is yes.
Yeah, I think that so what I would say is that libertarianism is a moral stance, and if you believe that problems should be solved between people through peaceful and voluntary means, then we're working on the same wavelength, and most people do. And then if you're not entertained by the the back and forth between the 2 rival red and blue gangs, all the better.
Right, pick the yellow gang. Well, I say to a lot of my friends that you could either be a libertarian by party or by philosophy.
Right.
And, I don't know if it's a large L or small L.
Generally, that's how they're classified. Yeah, if you're a party libertarian, that's the capital L, and a philosophy libertarian is a lowercase.
And essentially, one of the biggest things is he says that he doesn't want to have a label.
I was just going to say,
lots of libertarians say that.
Your brother sounds like a guy that I know, who's an amazing guitarist. He does some musical work and that kind of a thing. And, much like everybody, he's online on the social media platforms. And recently he posted a thing that was all super critical of the government and that kind of a thing. And somebody piped in and was like, man, you are a closet libertarian. You just, you are a libertarian, and and that was his response was the same as Dodger's brother. He was like, I just don't want to have that label attached to me.
Like he doesn't want to have any label attached to him, right. Which, at either rate, we're coming to. I convinced him that we're coming to New Hampshire this next June.
Nice.
We're going to come visit. I feel you guys are family because honestly, Free Talk Live is. I guess Glenn Beck and Neil Bortz kind of shoved me in the right direction.
That sounds right. That's the path.
Right. Or Rush Limbaugh used to be like the gateway drug to more knowledge about things political or freedom-minded. For a lot of people.
Judge Napolitano.
I yell at Rush all the time.
Right?
I used to yell at Rush all the time on the radio. Yeah.
People have come to Free Talk Live through Alex Jones, through a variety of different either speakers or writers who've made them question their existing paradigm. And once you start doing that, it's hard to stop.
Well, this isn't political for me. It's a way of life. The non-aggression principle is just the way I live my life.
That makes you a philosophical libertarian.
And it's not political to me. If it has to become political, I guess it has to. But that's what Free Talk Live has taught me.
Hey, Dodger, we appreciate the call, man. Take care. He is spot on. It is a way of life. The philosophy part of it is just, the non-aggression principle is a good idea. I'm going to live my life according to that as much as I can. And poof, you're a philosophical libertarian.
But the government gang doesn't want you doing that. So that's how you have to become political.
Ironically, libertarian becomes anti-political. Once you think about it long enough.
Right. I don't want to join their gang.
Different people go different ways, but it's just a moral philosophy to start with.
You're free.
603-283-6160. Still to come, more of the, what were they? The 14 totalitarian signs and something about an artificial womb.
Hey, you are going to love the movie Victimless Crime Spree. It's hilarious, heartwarming, and carries a ton of inspiring freedom messages. Feeling down about the lack of liberty in your life? You need to put on this film with some friends and have a good laugh. It's a true story about me and my friends in New Hampshire living free, singing, dancing, and getting arrested. Of course, it's all on video, and the bad guys, the cops, judges, bailiffs, and sheriffs, they all play their part like it's out of a movie or something. You would think we scripted the whole thing, but it's real life. Go ahead and have a watch, and if it's been a while, have another look. I guarantee you'll notice things now that you didn't notice before. And the best part is that you're going to walk away feeling a renewed sense of your own power. You are the master of your destiny, and you will be free in your lifetime. Victimless Crime Spree.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
You can help more people hear the message of liberty by joining Free Talk Live's AMPS program on Patreon for as little as $5 a month. And you'll get access to special perks. Visit amps.freetalklive.com, amps.freetalklive.com. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com.
And we're back. Come on.
Yeah. You boys.
Yes, welcome back. Thank you for tuning in and listening to Free Talk Live. The telephone number in the studio is 603-283-6160. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the captain,
Steve Classic,
and Mark Edge.
Our previous caller mentioned it, but ForkFest 2023 is coming up. You can join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 15th through the 18th for the 7th annual ForkFest at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. Forkfest is a fork of the Porcupine Freedom Festival, which sold out in 2022. In 2023, we're going back to where it all started the weekend before Porkfest. That's right, Forkfest is now the pre-funk, the before Porcupine Freedom Festival party. It is decentralized, which means there's no ticket cost and no one is in charge. All you have to do to join the fun is reserve your campsite, your RV site, or your motel room at Rogers Campground for June 15th through the 18th. You can find out more at the unofficial website forkfest.party. You can connect with other attendees on the Forkfest Telegram and Matrix chat rooms, as well as the Forkfest forum. Links to those can be found at forkfest.party. We hope to see you there. Come party with us, forkfest.party. All right. I want to get back to the remaining 6 of the 14 signs of totalitarianism. But first, let's go to David in New Mexico. David, you're on Free Talk Live.
Bitchin', thank you.
All right.
Is that it? That's all you got?
How are all the haters doing tonight?
Are we the haters?
Haters gonna hate, lovers gonna love. I don't even want none of the above.
You're 3 of the best amongst thousands of others, Mark.
Okay.
Well, actually, 2. Mark isn't that much of a hater. Actually, Mark doesn't qualify. Mark, you are disqualified as a hater.
All right.
So don't try to claim hater status. You tricked me. I almost lumped you in with the.
It seems to me you were the one assigning hater status, so
you get to decide.
No. I'm not assigning. I'm just observing. There's a difference.
You're like Schrodinger's hater?
That kind of, I don't really follow that, but I'll just play along. Yes, exactly.
There's no hate until you lift the box up of the from the hater and reveal that there's a hater inside the box?
Hey, now I'm starting to follow you. Yes, that's a very good analogy. I like that one, Captain.
It could go either way with every call I would suppose, right?
It could.
Yes, it could.
Schrodinger's hate. There you go.
Schrodinger's hate.
Many universes in the free talk live world.
That'd be a good band name.
Universes.
Schrodinger's hate.
That's good.
Schrodinger's hate.
Were you calling for a reason, David?
Government. You know, hey, part of government, this is not what I was calling about, but it just occurred to me, government. Is that because they make a mint of money?
They seem to.
They certainly control the minting.
They have
money.
a very profitable little grift that they run.
Yeah. Racket. Bank. Yeah, they're completely illegal. Let me riff on that. I was gonna rip on Judge John J. Zamora. No, wrong guy. John J. Romero. They're New Mexicans. All like Zamora, Romero. I mean, what's the difference between a Zamora and a Romero? Not much, really.
Well, it is New Mexico, right?
Pardon?
It's New Mexico, right?
Yeah, unfortunately it is. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Mark. And but although it does behave like old Mexico, hence the
it's run by cartels?
Yes, there are cartels here. There are bodies every morning. Every morning you wake up and there are bodies on the street of Albuquerque, and many of them, in fact, I would argue that most of them are killed as a result of the existence of the cartels in New Mexico as well as in old New Mexico.
Okay.
But the elite enclave, I stole that phrase from one of the northern New Mexicaners or whatever they're called, that claim to be part of a quote-unquote elite enclave. And I cited that article from GenerationJustice.org. One further point I wanted to make on that is it was notable that Judge John J. Romero Jr. Never held, aside from apparently working in a department store when he was young. After that, for the entirety of his 40-year career or whatever it was, never held a job in the private sector. Well, I'm sorry, he was an attorney on his own for a while, but apparently that didn't pay well enough or wasn't secure enough because he did that for a number of years and then went back into government work again. And my point is...
Yes, please, get your point.
Mexico. Try searching. Try finding something that interests you besides Mother Nature in New Mexico. There is like no industry for people to have decent careers. It's all just service industry and agriculture. And agriculture is a good career, although it doesn't necessarily pay the best in a lot of cases. But other than Mother Nature tourism, service industry. There are no real high-quality jobs in New Mexico. Of course, besides government,
right.
Of course, there is the medical industry, but the medical industry nowadays is basically government.
So I realize you live there, but I've spent some time in New Mexico. In my opinion,
living, sir. This is existing.
And I don't disagree with your assessment. I will say New Mexico sucks. And not that I mean that like it's a crappy state. It's that too. But it's the desert. The desert by nature sucks the life out of every living thing that it possibly can. And so that's where you're at. And so, yes, the desert literally sucks.
So it sucks to be me, huh?
It sure does. Thanks for the call, David. 603-283-6160.
You know, I've heard great things about hiking in New Mexico, but he's right. The only thing I've ever heard about New Mexico is nature.
Yeah.
You know, I don't. But if you don't like a place, you should find another place. Don't live in a place that makes you unhappy.
Right.
What did Sam Kinison say about deserts?
We've
got deserts in America, but we don't live in them.
Yeah. I recently watched some Sam Kinison, R.I.P. That guy was great.
Yeah.
Comedian.
He's like the announcer for soccer. Go!
Well, yeah.
No, maybe not.
Let's get back to these 14 signs of totalitarianism. We're down to number 6, rights. Financial, legal, and civil are contingent on compliance. I think we covered that one already.
Yes.
Number 5, state police protect the regime, not the people.
That's right. Back the blue.
This has been the case since I've been alive, near as I can tell. Right. I didn't really pay much attention to police or state police and, kind of what they did and how they went about it. But looking back and reading through, sort of history of cases and stuff that government was doing and people were doing, it seems to me that this has been the case since I've been alive, that the police protect the government, not the people.
Well, so a sheriff generally is an elected position. And the presumption, if we have free and fair elections, I don't know. But if we do, enough people in a given geographic area must be happy with the policing services that they're getting. I mean, the sheriff could be used against, municipal police. I'm not saying it's good. I'm saying that's what people want, is the police do protect state power, and that's apparently what enough people want.
More Free Talk Live is coming up.
The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Jagruti Dave. Argentina have been crowned World Cup champions after an extraordinary final against France, packed with twists and turns and a penalty shootout that had football fans on the edge of their seats. Full-time ended at 3-3, but the penalty shootout determined the final result, a 4-2 win for Argentina. Ross Cullen has more from Paris.
Well, as the World Cup comes to an end, also coming to an end, France's hopes of landing a third global title. The game itself was thrilling. France had seemed down and out. Argentina were 2-0 up with 10 minutes to go. Who, though, but Kylian Mbappe, 2 goals in 2 minutes, brought France level, and we went into extra time. Once again, Argentina took the lead with Lionel Messi scoring to put Argentina 3-2 ahead. Kylian Mbappe again dragging France level at 3-3, and Argentina and France went into that penalty shootout, which Argentina ultimately won. Lionel Messi finally winning the World Cup. At the 5th and final attempt, he had confirmed before the game he was not going to play another World Cup for Argentina.
Pyongyang launched 2 more ballistic missiles on Sunday, according to both Seoul and Tokyo. They're believed to be medium range as they flew more than 300 miles from North Korea's east coast, according to authorities in Japan. The Japanese defense minister said the rockets fell into the sea outside the country's exclusive economic zone. Japan and South Korea condemned the tests, and the US Indo-Pacific Command reaffirmed what it called America's ironclad commitments to the defense of these two nations. North Korea has fired an unprecedented number of missiles this year, including a long-range Hwasong-17 ICBM last month. Days ago, state media reported Pyongyang had also tested a solid-fuel high-thrust engine, which could enable faster launches of ICBMs. Kyiv's mayor says the heating is back on across the Ukrainian capital after Russian rockets struck the city's infrastructure last week. In a Telegram post on Sunday, Mayor Vitaly Klitschko said all sources of heat supply work normally. This is a small bit of good news for the city's 3 million residents who've been experiencing a bone-numbingly cold winter. Our correspondent in Kyiv, Sarah Coates, explains how all this is affecting morale amongst ordinary Ukrainians.
They're worn out, but let me tell you, they are resilient. I've been speaking to so many people on the ground and they say they can endure these conditions. They will endure these conditions. What they will not put up with is Russian occupation. There's been a lot of centres, they're called these points of invincibility, set up right around Kyiv. These are either makeshift tents powered by diesel or petrol generators. Inside they have hot tea and coffee and a little bit of something to eat.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FM.
You can help spread the ideas of liberty with our Patreon for just $5 per month at amps.freetalklive.com.
And we're back. Back for the attack. Trying to remember, is that Keel? I'm trying to remember. There's a bad 80s band in there somewhere that was back for the attack.
I don't remember it.
Yeah. It was obscure.
They were a bad 80s band.
They were, yeah.
That's why I don't remember.
Yeah. At any rate, it is Free Talk Live. 603-283-6160 in the studio. It's myself, the captain.
Steve Classic.
And Mark Edge.
We've been talking about the 14 signs of totalitarianism. We did define totalitarianism earlier, which is basically state evil. I don't know if that's an accurate definition, but that's the summary of the definition.
We into the top 3 here?
We are actually top 4 now.
Top four.
So number 4 on the top 4 signs of totalitarianism.
Coming in at number 4.
Thanks, Steve. Power is exerted to quash dissent.
Mm-hmm.
Have we seen that?
Well, certainly the January 6th thing. It seems like, look, and I guess what I think is funny about the January 6th thing is that you could look at this as an attack on American democracy, or you could look at it as an unauthorized tour of the Capitol building.
Right, when it was closed.
by like old men with canes, right?
Yeah.
And not using the canes as weapons, but like using them to like get up the stairs to get into the building, right? I watched it live on a couple of different, I had one screen with one YouTube channel, another screen with another YouTube channel. And it was one of the most entertaining things I've seen, not from like a drama perspective, or like, oh my God, it was like, oh, this is hilarious. This is just like
the cops are letting them in.
Regular.
There was a man in a
dudes,
buffalo
right?
outfit that had taken over the Speaker of the House. Thank God. I mean, and the way that the politicians of this country were cowering before the people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
This was it. This is it. This is the people. And they've now gotten into the House. They're a little upset.
Right. They're redressing their government, right?
A government set up on revolution,
Yep.
is terrified of a new one.
Well, yeah, because, we learned it by watching you. I can think of another way power was exerted to quash dissent, and that would be the March 16th raid of the Free Talk Live studios. Now I realize they say it's about Bitcoin.
Yeah,
but I
pretty
think
clearly not.
I think that's hogwash. I think that they know that we are perhaps the dissenting radio voice. I don't know that there's any other radio program that does what we do here at Free Talk Live. So that to me, was an exertion of power to quash dissent. Ian Freeman being, the spokesperson, if you will, for Free Talk Live.
Certainly the spokesperson for dissent.
Yeah, indeed. Number three on the top 3 signs of totalitarianism. The legal system is co-opted by the state. Well,
the legal system and the state are synonymous.
Right. The state is the legal system.
We are to believe the judicial system. And by the way, Americans like the judicial system more than they like the executive or the legislative. It still holds a little luster. But the judicial system is clearly run by the government. What else would you call the state?
It's the third branch.
Yeah. I again watching this court proceeding carry out over the last 2 weeks, I'm reminded that there's no such thing as a fair trial. When Ian loses his case, he goes to prison for X number of years. When the state loses its case, nothing happens to them.
Right.
Nothing bad happens to them. If you and I gamble and you could lose $1 million and I can lose nothing, and I could only gain.
You would gamble all the time.
Yeah,
I gamble all the time.
House always wins.
There's no, it's not a fair trial.
Yeah, there's no penalty for them getting it wrong.
If one side doesn't lose anything.
Right. Agreed.
By the way, the judges are generally prosecutors.
Yes.
Ex-prosecutors, I should say.
And they're all attorneys at some point.
Well, most of the House representatives and senators are lawyers, right? A lot of them. I don't know what the number is, but
not in New Hampshire.
No.
Almost
I'm saying
every
in
other
Washington
state,
D.C. You almost have to be a lawyer to.
Yeah, it's kind of and judges too. Basically, if you're unsuccessful at running a law firm,
you become a judge.
Your next best is to go work for the government.
Pay off some politician to get you to be nominated as a judge.
Or some places judges are elected. But
yeah.
Number two. Media.
He said number 2
several times. Does that mean it's a big ass? Number 2. Media is controlled.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think media is controlled, but I think that it controls itself.
Well,
there's just functionally, you're not getting a lot of different takes on the issue.
The mainstream media, at least, is the unofficial mouthpiece of the state.
The same type of people, in many cases, are writing the articles over and over again.
Well,
you're not getting different takes on an issue.
How many of these videos have to be put together where they show the newscasters from different city after different city after different city saying the exact same words, the exact same pronunciation, the exact same delivery, the exact same phrases?
Right. It's Operation Mockingbird.
Yes.
They basically read the same script. It goes out as a press release from the White House, and it's all I got to do is copy and paste that, and there it is. I don't have to do any work.
It's the Rush Limbaugh gravitas bit over and over and over again. Now, I had never heard the term gravitas until, and it's not like I'm, unarmed.
It sounds like a sport where people chuck gravy at each other.
Gravitas basically means something that's, important. It has, attracted gravity over time. It's an issue that, that has import. And, there's this bit where he shows, all you have to do is look it up on YouTube. It's all over the place. And he just shows newscaster after newscaster after newscaster saying this word that I had theretofore never heard in my life. Suddenly, everybody's saying it in the same newscast at the same time.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And
insurrection.
We are to not believe that there are talking points handed out by someone. No one knows who the talking points are handed out by. And I will say this, as a 20-year broadcaster, some people have asked me here and there, well, who tells you what to say? I will tell you, no one has ever attempted to hand me talking points.
Yeah, on this show, I speak for myself from, my own experiences. No one is behind me. This is all 100% me.
And the callers. It's
and the callers.
Yeah.
You know.
And you can call in. The number's, right there, 603-283-6160. You can call in and say what you want. We're not going to stop you. You know, yeah, we may, you're only going to be on for so long because that's how call-in radio works. But nonetheless, I've never been handed these talking points, but someone is handing someone talking points. Yeah. Who's the libertarian newscaster guy? Ben. His name is escaping me right now. Anyway, this guy has sort of became famous during Ron Paul.
Okay.
He began researching and doing these sorts of things, and then he spun off and did his own thing at some point.
I know who you're talking about. I can't remember his name right now.
His name, I don't know why I don't remember.
Use the magic rectangle.
Well, go right ahead.
Okay. I'll see if I can do some show prep in the background here.
Right. His name is libertarian newscaster Ben.
All right, let's go.
He is, this guy was too low on the totem pole to really be he was a beat reporter. He'd
Shapiro?
go out and, no. And maybe I've got his first name wrong.
Ben Ferguson?
Nope. I must have it wrong. Anyway, he was a beat reporter, so he never got handed these talking points. I've just never found anybody in the industry that got the talking points that somebody hands these to. But clearly they're out there. Clearly the media is controlled opposition in some way.
I couldn't agree with you more. And we've seen more than just your Rush Limbaugh example. There are so many examples of people putting these things together, highlighting this exact same thing where many, many people are repeating the same thing on the mainstream media. Still to come, the number one sign of totalitarianism.
You are supply, and lately there's lots of demand. I'm Holland Cook with Inflation Hacks. Before the pandemic, websites were offering to help you find a job. Back to the Future, the Help Wanted sign is everywhere. So this may be a good time to ask for a raise. The boss will be all ears if you've taken on extra duties while the shop is short-handed. Otherwise, test the waters. You will seem like quite the catch if you ask questions that demonstrate you've done your homework and if you seem eager to pitch in. And when it's time to talk turkey, let them bring it up and assume it's their opening bid. And this is when to ask about benefits, overtime, and other details. For instance, is there a place to park? How are you coping? Post your inflation hacks at andyoucanquoteme.com.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191. Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 15th through the 18th for the 7th annual Fork Fest at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. Fork Fest is a fork of the Porcupine Freedom Festival, which sold out in 2022. For 2023, we're going back to where it all started, the weekend before PorcFest. ForkFest is decentralized, which means that there's no ticket cost and no one is in charge. All you have to do to join the fun is reserve your camping site, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 15th through the 18th. You can find out more at the unofficial website forkfest.party. You can also connect with other attendees on the ForkFest Telegram and Matrix chat rooms, as well as the ForkFest forum. You can find links to those at forkfest.party. We hope to see you there June 15th through the 18th. forkfest.party. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. chat.lrn.fm.
My name is Jacob Hornberger. I'm president of the Future of Freedom Foundation, which Congressman Ron Paul awarded for having an outstanding freedom website. Write us at fff@fff.org, and we'll send you a free 3-month subscription to our monthly journal of libertarian essays and our booklet, Economic Liberty in the Constitution, which George Mason University economics professor Walter Williams praised in a recent column. That's fff@fff.org.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live.
It's like meow mix.
And we're back. That's for Nikki. Yes.
Oh, God, that's funny.
Final segment of Free Talk Live, the Sunday night edition. We've been talking about the 14 signs of totalitarianism, and we'll get back to, we only have one more to go. But first, let's go to your calls and thoughts. We've got David in Kansas. Said something about an apology you're owed or you're going to get. David, tell us what's
Somebody's
up.
getting one.
David?
Hey.
David?
What happened?
I think
he's on an Obama phone, maybe.
All right, you're there, but you're cutting in and out.
Yeah, I think my phone calls for some reason.
Yeah,
I think he's back, and he's back.
Yeah, the NSA or the FBI must be trying to limit my phone calls.
Yeah, or both.
We got the FBI's been keeping an eye on Twitter, so why not your phone calls?
Yeah. What's on your mind, David?
First of all, a big apology. I was back.
Yeah, David. Sorry.
So.
That's cutting in and out.
We do appreciate your phone call, but there's nothing we can do.
Yeah.
Apology accepted.
Yeah, get a better phone or call from a different line or something.
That's right. Apology accepted.
Call tomorrow because you won't get through again tonight. All right, so let's circle back to the number one sign of totalitarianism. We've gone through all the other 13. Number one.
Nice.
It's a long one.
Thank you. I was waiting for the crescendo of the crash cymbal, yes. Number one, dissent is equated to violence.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Give an example.
But everything's violence now. Everything you say that disagrees with whatever the narrative is now, it's violence.
You're a domestic terrorist. If you disagree with the school board, they'll bust you.
Does that infer that there's feral terrorists?
Domestic? I suppose you could have, feral.
Domesticated, maybe?
Foreign terrorists.
Feral okay. Yeah. Any other examples? Dissent is equated to violence.
Well, if you don't take your shot, your grandma's going to die. You're going to kill my family if you don't get your vaccine.
I haven't had anybody equate me appearing on Free Talk Live and dissenting about the state to you're a violent man.
No, they haven't done that, but if you listen to the muggles out there when they talk, they'll essentially say that anything that disagrees with whatever my narrative is violence. And they act as though it was until they actually run up upon violence, in which case they don't know what to do with it. There's so little violence in the average American's lives that disagreeing with them is violence, right?
They need an excuse to say that you're
so
violent.
then, pop, right in the face. Suddenly, whatever I was saying before that doesn't look like violence.
So you're talking about, like, there's terms that have come up in my life that were invented recently. One of them that I've never really understood is microaggressions.
Yeah, microaggressions.
Triggered. You're triggered.
What's a microaggression?
A microaggression is a little thing that I disagree with.
That's it?
Yeah.
That's all it is?
Sarcasm?
It's just a
That's it.
difference of opinion.
Yep.
And so how is that an aggression?
Well, they don't use the verbiage the way we do.
Okay.
Everything that I disagree with is violence. Everything I disagree with is out of the mouth of a Nazi.
You like
are
chocolate
literally
ice
Hitler.
cream, and I like raspberry ice cream, and we disagree. Therefore,
You're wrong.
raspberry ice cream is violence.
You're
They
a
haven't
racist.
come to that
You're a
point, but they're
racist.
getting there.
Yeah. I mean, that's really, I mean, it boils right down to if they don't agree with you, you're a racist. It always ends with some kind of name calling.
I will, of course, post a link to this article, and you can see these 14. And there's a
what
bit
I
of
like
a
to do
write-up
is,
as well.
When I talk about issues, I like to keep words to their own meaning. Violence is violence. Racism is racism. And disagreeing with you is disagreeing with you.
Well, you can't define a word using the word. You have to use other words to define it.
Well, you can, in so much as violence doesn't mean, if you want me to define violence without using other words, but violence is violence. It's not things other than violence. It's a tautology, but tautologies are at their fundamental level a thing. Like everybody who uses violence to describe a difference of opinion knows that that is not violence.
Okay.
They know it.
Yeah.
All you have to do is hit them in the face one time. Suddenly they're like,
They
wow,
changed the definition.
everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face.
Sure,
right?
no, I understand what you're saying. I'm just saying as far as making a definition goes, like, you can't say, well, milk is milk. You have to differentiate it from something else.
What it isn't is the juice of an almond.
Right.
It isn't
That's
the juice
true.
of a coconut.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it is. It isn't,
Well, it is. Like coconut
walnuts.
juice is a much more accurate name than coconut milk.
Yeah,
Well,
but
they do use
I
it,
think the
though.
FDA is actually going after people who make almond milk because it's false advertising, that it's not really milk. I mean, that's how in the minutia they're getting with, really, come on, it's called almond milk.
As long as it says almond above milk, I'm fine. So long as we know what we're
Buyer
talking about.
beware.
here.
Yeah. Look at the
But,
ingredients.
You know, they asked me, I went to get a coffee yesterday at one of these little liberal places. Everybody's wearing a mask. They asked me, what kind of milk would you like?
What kind of soy do you want?
And I said, from a cow. And he's like, I don't even need to talk to you anymore. I know what you want. I don't need to discuss anything else with this a-hole. If he's going to say from a cow, then he's,
What kind of milk do you
it's, you vote Republican.
All right. While we've got a couple of minutes, I did tease this article, and I just want to mention it here. This is from designboom.com. With sci-fi undertones, Hashem El-Ghali envisions the world's first artificial womb facility. They've got some photos here, and if you've ever seen The Matrix, when Neo wakes up in his little pod.
That is a giant womb facility.
This is kind of what their vision here is. In his latest conceptual video, biotechnologist and film producer Hashem El-Ghali takes us on an unsettling yet fascinating tour inside Ectolife, the world's first artificial womb facility. The AI-powered fictional complex offers future parents a presumably safer alternative to natural childbirth, eliminating the often fatal complications associated with it.
Often fatal complications associated with natural
childbirth. Right, yeah.
That seems like an exaggeration.
According to the World Health Organization, around 300,000 women die from pregnancy complications. I don't know if that's annually or...
I'm sure that... as I understand it, now we're bringing in third world countries here. The United States is, infant mortality rate is quite low.
Ectolife artificial womb is designed to alleviate human suffering and reduce the chances of C-sections, writes El-Ghali. Instead of a mother pushing painfully with her body, couples are asked to push a button that, quote, births, unquote, their incubated child. The project is also designed for women who have had their uterus removed following health issues such as cancer. Since we're short on time, they also envision adding CRISPR into the equation here.
Okay.
So if
CRISPR is the gene modification.
Correct. So you're a man and a woman. You want to have a kid. You don't have to do it the natural way. You can just take a sperm and an egg from each of the two, put them into this incubator
contraption,
and it will grow a baby for you in a simulated womb environment. They, of course, allow the parents to, talk and, be around and play music and, all that kind of stuff into this artificial womb pod. But then they also offer CRISPR services, which is like, oh, do you have a history of mental illness? Well, let's check that gene out of there, or let's edit that gene, or, a history of some other illness or some deformity.
What hair color do you want? Yeah, these kind of things.
It's just a march towards transhumanism. I mean, just another march towards that.
What about these? I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. Go ahead.
Can we set up a Facebook page for the
Pardon
baby?
me, sir. Would you mind stepping
Twitter
out of your
account.
train of thought? Can I see your degree, please? Take it out of the frame. The sci-fi experience can even be provided beyond laboratory walls. Parents who prefer a more homely option can choose to install their own growth pods at home, supported by miniaturized bioreactors with long-lasting batteries, adding an extra layer of comfort and safety.
So here's my question. Have they ever actually birthed a human in this circumstance?
No, this is all hypothetical.
Okay.
Yeah. We are out of time.
Well, Demolition Man already predicted all this stuff.
True. Thank you, Mark, for being with us. Thank you, Steve
Captain.
Classic. Thank you to all of our callers. We're out of time. Everybody have a good night. Peace.
I'm crazy about My Magic Mud. This is the most important oral care product created this millennium, and I'm not kidding. We all have different opinions on politics and issues, but we all have mouths. And I want yours to be as clean as possible, with teeth as bright as they were meant to be. I will never be without My Magic Mud. It's a little surprising, but man, does it work. If you only listen to one thing I say ever, go to mymagicmud.com and get 20% off with code FTL. mymagicmud.com, code FTL.
Gold and silver. You can own the most stable assets in recorded history with BullionMax.com. Buy direct from BullionMax.com without talking to a salesperson, and your precious metals shipped fully insured directly to your home. Free Talk Live can get you their silver starter kit at employee pricing. Just go to BullionMax.com/FTL. It includes 5 ounces of the most desirable silver products plus a free gold bag. This offer is limited to 1 per household, so get yours now. Go to BullionMax.com/FTL.
There are basically 2 types of advertising: direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio